One of our favorite sponsors is back with us, Sunset Lake CBD.
Yeah.
If you're looking for CBD that actually does what CBD is supposed to do, look no further than our friends over at Sunset Lake.
Let me break it down.
Break it down, Mel.
They're sustainably farmed, meaning they avoid pesticides and use sustainable farming practices to preserve the land for future generations. 1. 2, farm to table. They ship the CBD products straight from their door in Vermont directly to your door wherever you're at.
Now that's cool.
And third party tested. They test everything with a third party to ensure quality, dosage, and safety.
You got to go over and check out sunsetlakecbd.com. They have so many products. Break it down for them, Apple.
Well, they've got some new stuff going on. Like they always had pre-rolls, but now they got really cool packaging for it. And you can get CBD pre-roll flights of all their flavors. You can get the heavy hitter flight that also throws in some of their Keef blunts. They have a new CBD recovery body lotion.
I'm excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the other?
The other one with arnica.
The extra strength muscle rub, 3,000 milligram with 5% lidocaine.
So look,
Oh, yeah,
if you're
lidocaine.
sore, this is the stuff you want to rub on your body to make those aches and pains go away. They even have CBD infused coffee, so you can have coffee without the little jitter that you get from caffeine, and you have it in the morning and you start your day off right. Your body feels lubricated. You're going to sleep good.
Yeah, and also they have, if you kind of forget to reorder, they've got subscriptions.
And they're giving the No Simple Road family 20% off.
20% off.
Put
with
in the promo code NSR20 when you're checking out at sunsetlakecbd.com. You're going to get 20% off your entire order.
NSR20.
And don't forget those cute little gummy bears.
That's right. sunsetlakecbd.com, one of our favorite sponsors, is back.
We're so excited to tell you a bit about today's sponsor, Music Masters Collective. They are a nonprofit organization that produces unique music events, providing opportunities for fans and artists to meet and collaborate in an inspired and creative atmosphere.
Music Masters Collective events give you the opportunity to learn from world-class musicians like Otil Burbridge, Steve Earle, Richard Thompson, former members of the band, the Milk Carton Kids, Nikki Glaspie, the Fab Four, and Sean Colvin, and so many more.
At an event like the Milk Carton Kids Sad Song Summer Camp happening this July, you can expect immersive classes, evenings of entertainment, excellent food, and a space for a lucky group of folks to learn, co-write, workshop, and perform with like-minded peers, all with the guidance of Kenneth Pattengale, Joey Ryan, and some of their favorite songwriters. This all-inclusive week in the Catskill Mountains of upstate New York is guaranteed to be magical. Scholarships are available and spots are extremely limited, so visit www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple to learn more. That's www.sadsongsummercamp.com/simple. Check it out.
Hey everyone, Chris Pandolfi from the infamous String Dusters here to let you know that my podcast, Inside the Musician's Brain, is back on the airwaves for Season 4, which means it's time once again to get deep with influential musicians from all across the musical landscape to really understand and translate the lessons of success, failure, inspiration, and hard work that are behind the music and the artists that we love. My guests this season include Rachel Price from Lake Street Dives, Sam Bush, Chris Wood, Chris Funk from The Decemberists, Lindsay Liu, MC Taylor from His Golden Messenger, and more. Check us out, and thanks for listening.
Hey now, this episode is brought to you by Define Premium Cannabis.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Uh-huh.
It is,
Sweet.
though.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, Diggity Fine. DEFY.
Because we
Because we
smoke
smoke
weed.
weed.
Hey, we did
it.
Yeah.
So come on out if you're in the Portland area to our one of our two locations. We have one in Hillsborough
And one in Forest Grove.
and one in Forest Grove. And if you come out to visit us for any of your medical or recreational needs, we have your flower, we have your edibles, we have your carts, we have your dabs, we have your lotions. We have everything.
Wow, you do have everything.
And if you're not sure about stuff, come in. We will get you educated. That's one of the main things we take pride on doing, is taking time to educate everybody and let them know what all of the different products are and what the new products are out on the market.
You were just saying something about a sale.
Yeah, we have a sale coming up. Well, it'll be when this comes out, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be Monday. We have a Veterans Day sale. We always do Veterans Day stuff. Always have a Veterans discount of 15%. I don't mention that sometimes. If you come in, 15% discount for all veterans every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And every day is a No Simple Road sale day.
Yeah.
Yep. When you go in, tell them you listen to No Simple Road. They're going to give you 10% off your purchase and
a free t-shirt.
I'm really tired. I'm
Whoa,
sorry. We
right.
just smoked. I just
t-shirt.
smoked
Some
Define
Define.
Premium cannabis weed, and I'm lit.
Could you say that Define has all your cannabitory needs?
Yes.
Is that a word, cannabitory?
It is
now.
All right.
It's been spoken into the world.
So Define Premium Cannabitory Services.
Yeah. So come visit us. Make sure to mention you listen to the show. Get that discount. Get that free t-shirt. And take care of your head.
Take care of your head. Hey, you know what?
What?
When you go to the show next time, a show, not the show, a show,
That
you,
show will be the show.
you should wear a new t-shirt.
Where should
And
they get it from?
You should get it at shoptourbus.com online or at shoptourbus on Instagram. You should go over there right now while I'm talking on your phone or your laptop or your desktop because you're at work and you're bummed and you're sitting in your cubicle, or you're happy and you're sitting in your cubicle and you're like, you know what? I need a new free t-shirt. A new free t-shirt? No. I need a new t-shirt for the next show that I go to. And I want it to be something unique, not just another shirt with a skull on it or a shirt that says Grateful Dead on it. I want something that's kind of inside a little bit. You know, you got to be in the know to know what's going on.
And also just a cool design.
Yeah, man.
It's like, it's a cool shirt. Regardless of what it means, it's a cool shirt.
Totally cool shirt. And they're soft and they're
They're very comfortable.
Yeah, like what?
What?
But like,
What?
what do I get with it?
Okay.
I want more.
I'm going to break it down for you, Ryder.
Okay.
So you're going to order the shirt, right?
Uh-huh.
You're going to put in the promo code No Simple Road when you check out. First of all, you're going to get free shipping.
I don't even have to pay for the shipping?
Nope.
No.
Then it's going to come to your house a few days later. It's going to be in a hand-designed, one-of-a-kind box. That box is not going to be designed like that anywhere else on the planet but in your hands.
I'm the only one that gets it?
Only one.
Oh, shit.
Then Mel's going to tell you what else is inside.
Tchotchkes, stickers, candy, an old school tape.
What kind of tape?
The tape that comes with a pencil so that you can spool it.
What's on that tape?
Maybe a Grateful Dead show.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Might be. I'm not sure.
So you're going to get a bootleg?
Might get a bootleg.
Whoa.
Oh, and by might, she means you
You
for sure
will.
will absolutely every time.
Right on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be just yours.
Mhm.
It's going to be magic just for you. It's going to have come from Luke and the Roadies at No Simple Road at Shop Tour Bus right to your door for free because you put in the promo code No Simple Road when you checked out. And if you want to give a message to somebody when you check out,
Oh, you mean like if we were buying someone a present
Mhm.
for
Yes,
these holidays?
for the
that are
holidays
coming
that are
up?
Send
coming
them
Right,
a
right, they're
personal
already here.
message. Or
you
something.
could put that in the notes when you check out, and they will send that note to your loved one, friend, buddy,
Well-
or enemy.
Back on the present thing, what if I don't know what shirt to get them?
I don't know. What?
Well, I mean, is there like some kind of
You
gift
get
card
them a
I could
gift
buy?
card.
You know what? I saw. I'm breaking character here for
Okay.
a second. I saw gift certificates on their site a while back, and I haven't seen them on there lately. So I don't know if there's gift certificates
Okay.
available on Shop Tour Bus. But all the other stuff is available. One of a kind
Sweet.
box, really sweet, cool, and unique design T-shirts. You will get a bootleg. You're going to get extras in the box, and you're going to get
More than you bargained for.
No simple road. No simple road. No simple road. No simple road.
Osiris.
We're mass communicating. Mass communicating. Mass communicating.
This is John Barber, singer and lead guitarist for the Disco Biscuits, speaking to you about the Touchdowns All Day with John Barber podcast on the Osiris Podcast Network. On our podcast, we listen to Disco Biscuits music, we listen to a lot of other kinds of music, we listen to a lot of improv music, and I discuss what it takes, the clutch decisions that make epic jams. Use the hashtag Touchdowns All Day on all social media networks. Thank you so much for listening. We love you so very much.
Touchdowns All Day is not responsible for any cankles, head wounds, K-holes, cross-species insemination, loss of hearing, vision, or appetite. Do not delay seeking medical or professional attention because of something you heard on this podcast. Touchdowns All Day is not a substitute for a normal, entertaining podcast. Please use hashtag Touchdowns All Day responsibly. In the event of a medical emergency, call 911.
Migraine.
Yeah, you have
Migraine.
you have a knack for picking up the hidden meaning in things.
Oh, dude, yes.
Welcome back to the dining room.
Thank you so
This
much.
is the first.
So good to be back.
Jake and Bryn are here with
Not the
us.
first.
Oh.
Hi, everybody.
No, we've
It's
done this
always
quite a few times.
spontaneous.
Hey now.
It's never
Bad
planned.
memory.
No Simple Road family. How you guys doing this week? I hope everybody's doing well. This week is our friend Colin Frangicetto.
Colin.
What's up,
Woo, Colin
So I
came to the porch.
found out about Colin a few months back from Instagram and his art. I saw some of his art and was like, I need to talk to that guy. And then after finding out about his art, I found
After
out
talking to him and getting him booked.
Yeah, I find out that he's in this really amazing band called Circa Survive.
that I've been listening to since I was 15.
Wow.
20
Really?
10 years. It's been a decade.
God, and they've been together for 16 years,
And
he said.
how did you find out about him back then?
Yeah.
I
right.
have a friend that she's still my best friend, Abby. She got me into him. This song called There's a Difference Between the difference between medicine and poison is the dosage is the first song I ever listened to them, and it's fantastic.
Okay.
I like
Yeah.
the title.
It's a good good
So
song.
we invited Colin over to the house and ended up having a 2+ hour conversation about psychedelics and life and living a psychedelic life and his journey down to the Amazon and taking ayahuasca.
Yeah, we introduced him as an artist and a band person, and we talked almost nothing about his art or his music.
Yeah, like the last 4 minutes of the podcast. It's like, oh yeah, you're in a band, so tell us what's up with that. Yeah, it was really cool, and I think more and more, and I think I said this to him while we were recording, more and more when we meet people, it's meeting a long lost friend. Like it really does feel like that. Like the vibe of our house and the show and who we are as a family, it attracts the missing pieces of the puzzle. And he was definitely one of those that just like clicked like a Lego when he got over here. It was super comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's so much of a missing piece as of the puzzle as it is like, you know, when you add flowers to a room that's already beautiful.
I like to think of it as
It's not missing. It's like it adds. I can't hear myself. It adds to.
it's
there
that
it is.
it's that plug.
It
That
adds to
plug
what?
Anyways.
sucks.
It adds to what?
It adds to the beauty of what's already amazing, you know. So he came here and he just fit right in. And there's this weird thing that happens now when we meet people who listen to the show. where there's no like introducing ourselves really because they know who we are.
Also, him coming over was the smoothest we've ever had anyone come over. Darwin was just like, "What's up, dude? How's
Yeah,
it going?"
it was.
Whoa.
I know. Yeah.
That's
There was no
something.
barkage.
Nope, not one bark.
Yeah, he just came right
But no,
on in.
I like to think of it as a puzzle without edge pieces. Just one more little boop. He fits right in.
And who knows?
One
It's,
little
it's quite possible through many lifetimes we've all known each other through various incarnations, and it's just somebody that was probably your best friend so many lifetimes ago is
I
back.
felt like it.
Yeah.
And welcome Jake and Bryn to the
Yeah.
dining
Speaking of
table.
best friends,
Well,
We're glad to be back.
It
No
was-
Simple Road fam.
it was really like that with you guys. Like,
Of course, yes, I knew it right away, and I tried to be so open to people. That
I was
are
so
on
happy when I met
those
Bryn,
frequencies.
like, because we met Jake and then we met Bryn. I was like,
She's
Oh my
even
gosh.
better. It's like Jake, but better.
I get to play with a dolly
Jake
too.
2.0.
yeah, it's cool as a married couple to meet another weird couple.
Yeah,
We're not married yet. We're getting there.
Well,
he just said
I mean,
weird.
I said
couple.
weird. I didn't
Yeah.
say anything
They're
about married.
warming up to it.
Whatever.
Yeah,
It's rad.
It is cool. Like
Another
you get
couple to
you,
couple.
You both get friends out of
Yeah.
the
It's
out of
pretty
it.
awesome,
Yeah.
and we have certain dynamics and certain experiences.
And that doesn't happen much. I've heard that from you guys. Lots of
Well,
America.
it's a
hard
unique-
to find a couple where the other couple likes the other two.
Yeah. Well,
It's usually like, well, Bob's cool, but Carol's a bitch.
Well, you get four.
You know,
think about, like,
that happens a lot.
well, think about opposites attract, right? And so opposites attract, but maybe not in the other couple's situation.
Well, and also
Yeah.
So
you
you
get
may get
any,
a person who's just like off the wall. That's like,
You get any group of 4 people together and they just automatically all love each other.
That's true.
Not a normal thing.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's about just where.
normal things.
Yeah, it's just about getting people together, similar frequency. We all kind of think the same thing. We're all focused on really positive outcomes. Because of
That's
that,
what makes us so
it just
comfortable
makes
with
it
each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we're so comfortable
Comfort
with each other.
factor.
What do you think comfort is?
I think it's trust and the
Ooh, that's
understanding.
good word.
It's the understanding that that person is similar in frequency with you enough to where you can comfortably let go in a way, in various ways.
Yeah.
You can sprawl out on the couch. You can talk about deep philosophical things.
Yeah.
There's no
wherever.
defense.
It's about that trust.
Yes, that's
There's
a
no
great way.
defense.
What
It's
about
like, and
you?
it's like electricity. It's like
Electricity.
electricity instead of go like it's just flowing evenly in one way, and there's no defense. Like that's like
No
comfort. There-
defense.
yeah, there's
So you
no
don't even feel like you
there's
need
no
it.
static. That's like comfort to me is not being agitated.
And sometimes you could just read people and instantly you trust them. Like I instantly trusted Aaron. I instantly trusted you guys. You instantly knew right away that we would be friends. So,
Yep.
you
Why?
guys talk about that.
But what
It's-
is that?
It's
You said similar frequency,
Your
but you
beard.
similar frequency.
but
just
but what does that equate to?
a core understanding. If you're focused on being like a loving person and you're giving and you're truly coming from a place of love in all your decisions and you're where you're at when your decision making process in life, then you're on a certain frequency spectrum or in a certain frequency spectrum. And then therefore people that can sense that know that you're there. Like, oh, you're dialed into that love frequency. Oh, these people are cool. So they can just let go because that stuff is so core that no matter what situation you might find yourself in, it's all going to come from that place. So whatever the outcome may be, whatever situation may arise, it's always going to be fine.
Do you think, baby?
Always gonna be fine.
It's a recognition of. It's a recognition of yourself in someone else. You can see yourself in their eyes, feel yourself coming from them because we're all part of this great grand tapestry of energy, of infinite.
But then why can't
Well,
you
and I
see it
think-
in everybody if we're all part?
Because not everybody is on the same trip.
Well, and it's I think it's the amount of yourself you can see in another person. If you see the more of yourself you can see in another person, the more you can trust that person.
That makes sense, and I think it's a recognition of somebody else that's on the journey in the place that you're at, because we're all in different places on this path, like as individuals, but as a collective whole, we have a similar place that we're all at. We found each other at a point in our lives when we have similar beliefs, we have similar desires, we're attracting similar things to ourselves. So we recognize that the word I'm looking for is resonance. You feel a resonance from that person that's a familiar resonance.
It's core.
Yeah. And that's that, to me, that's that feeling of familiarity.
Do you guys ever find that if someone resonates too closely to you, it kind of feels more like dissonance and you pull away? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think that it can be not only off-putting but frightening.
Yeah.
It depends which aspects of yourself. If it's somebody that's a manifestation of all your bad habits, you're like, oh.
Well, even I'm not.
Like,
yeah,
no,
no, that's
yeah.
definitely all the bad habits. You definitely stay away from that person. But no, like just like in someone that like matches up with you, like too much.
Isn't that like when there's too much oxygen on the fire and it goes out of control, or it's stifled and gets put out? It's too much.
Mm-hmm.
And as I get older, I'm realizing that I'm very aware of how I feel on the inside, and when I meet people, I'm way less focused on what they're saying and what they do, and way more focused on how I feel about that person when I meet them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's come with age for me. I know that there's people that are listening that are young that know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's how I base all my interactions.
Fucking hard-headed
just
as
like
shit.
just like how do I feel about this person?
And it's coming from that place of intuition and learning to trust it and understand what it's saying to you. That is the trick of it.
Yeah, that is the trick of it. Because like I was just saying, like I'll be honest, the first time I met, like the first few times I interacted with Blaze, there was like a disconnect. And the last couple times we hung out, we both kind of like talked about it and realized that it was like a dissonance.
Because you're too much alike.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about it in terms of frequency and tone, right? It's playing one note with like an octave higher or lower.
Or like when you're tuning your guitar and you've got it almost, and
right.
it still does that like wee. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. As we've gotten more settled here in Portland, and the show has continued, and everything that's happened has happened, and I really feel, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, that like the disparate pieces of our family pattern are being pulled into the orbit of the house. I really, really feel like that. And I really feel like breaking gin.
Breaking gin. We can't say your guys' name together without saying breaking gin.
You guys were the first piece of that puzzle for me. And it taught me a lot about myself living in Portland and who I am. And it's been probably my favorite friend relationship I've had.
Yay, we love you guys.
Yay, that's sweet.
I've completely lost my shit in front of you guys. I have been way too high in front of you guys.
I've been way too high in front
He
of a lot
literally
of people.
lost his shit. He's like, where's the bathroom?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Where is my shit?
I had it right here 5 minutes ago, and now it's gone.
And it's fucking rad.
Well, and that's that first resonance piece that you're like, okay, we're already here, and now we can go here, and we can be open, and there isn't that like, all the stuff.
And it's super fun to have
Like,
people that
all
you
the
could
stuff.
safely be around and know that you could, stretch yourself out in a psychedelic way, and the comfort level's there. Like no matter the situation, like even if you got to the point where maybe you took a significant amount and all of a sudden you're just like flopping around on the ground, like laughing hysterically with no context in reality, all that's okay. And that's such a fun experience. And over my life, I've had, 2 or 3 different crews that I've rolled with over the years. I've been able to do that with, and I love all those people. And it's been an amazing experience to have those friends to be around.
it's such a different thing to make friends with people as an adult. Then
It's a lot harder.
Oh yeah,
It's so hard.
yeah, very.
It's so weird. It's so much harder to
Why?
do.
Why is it so? As a new adult,
I'm going to tell you
As
why.
a new adult.
please,
just born?
please
Is that a
tell
new
me.
thing? Is this religious?
You know what, Ryder? Honestly, I think here's what it is. When you're a kid, there's no money involved in friendship. There's no responsibility involved in friendship. There's no real competition in life involved with friendship. You guys like the same shit and you hang out. That's it. When you're friends, when you're kids.
Mm-hmm.
When you're adults, there's a whole new set of paradigm that's plugged into the game that we play as adults.
Real world shit.
That there's responsibility and there's attitude and there's money and there's social standing and there's all these like weird.
You have to be a lot more careful about who you let into your inner circle as you
because
get older.
adults can fuck you up and
They
take
have
advantage and or add
deeper
beautiful things.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a lot of people as you get older have been screwed over a lot and stuff. There's a lot less trust in people that are older. You got to watch out, and people are they learn to be faker too. Takes a little while.
I
Sometimes
have a lot of
You meet-
filters, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
good to
you
have
gotta
filters.
have a lot of filters. Like as a human being in a society, you've got to have a lot of filters.
But I think that, and I think Mel will attest to this, I'm pretty, not trusting is the wrong word. I always will give somebody the first chance. Most of the time.
Yeah.
And rarely am I burned on that. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago with intuition. You learn to rely on your intuition when you're making friends with people. And there's those people that just feel good to be around, that make you feel better about who you are and get you. And you, like we were just saying, I could lay down on the floor right now and snot could be dripping out of my nose and I could be cracking up. I would not be embarrassed in front of any of you guys for any of that. I would get up and go, sorry. You know what I mean? Whoops. But and
Actually invited him over to do that the other day. I was like, come over and do all those things.
That's the thing. We join each other.
yeah. And
Oh, that looks like fun.
totally. But it's important, I think, to remember that as we get older and as you're an adult, that we still need to fucking make friends, man.
It's
It's
very
important.
healthy to have people.
No,
I
even
don't-
if
I
it's
don't-
hard.
I don't have any room in my life for another friend. Has anybody else ever done that?
Oh yeah.
No.
Where you meet somebody
I've-
where
I've-
it's
yes,
like,
I've done
"Oh,
that.
bullshit.
I've done that when
Oh
I
my
only have
God. You
3
said that with a
friends.
straight face too.
I've done that when I've only had 3 friends. Like, nah, that's too many people already. Like, I gotta
Yeah,
keep track of
I-
4 people. That's 4 birthdays. Fucking
I already
what?
want to hang out with these
Are
other
you kidding
friends
me?
that own enough, and now this guy wants to be my
What
friend.
do you-
No.
It's been great rolling with you guys because when I moved to Portland in 2007, all my friends were deep in the Burning Man scene. And so I went to all those shows and all those parties and had a really great time. I got exposed to a lot of things in that world. But I didn't really have a crew to go to jam band shows with. And it's, I'd always be dragging people, So it's been so great to have a crew.
So what do burners listen to? What kind of concerts? Are
They
to?
go to the the electronic stuff, like not even really the Spangle stuff. That's kind of like even bigger now, but it's just like the underground. They'll have like 10 or 12 West Coast kind of wumpy DJs. Yeah,
Okay.
and the costumes, and they'll have some other stuff too. And
We
Rave scene.
went through some of it in Vegas. Like when we went to the regional burns and stuff, we saw the kind of music that was played. It's not jammy.
Also,
but you know what? I will say this for the burner community, there is a contingent of heads.
oh yeah, no, they're in there for sure. I
There's
mean,
a
I met
huge
a bunch
overlap.
of people, but when I first moved to Portland, the jam band scene was very, very minimal. It was all metal and Burning Man.
Oh wow,
So-
really?
Oh yeah. There was just nothing really.
The
going
metal
on.
scene down here is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. There's a huge metal scene, and but eventually it kind of came around. But yeah, so for years I was like dragging people or going to shows by myself, and then when me and Bryn got together, it was just me and Bryn going to shows for years. Because it was so hard. All my friends were like, "No, dude, I'm cool. I'm going to see
That
fucking
was
whoever."
That was one of the things that
With a computer.
Colin said towards the end of the interview that really, like, I was like, wow, this dude's fucking awesome, is when we were talking about the music, and he was just saying, man, I just want to, we were talking about having that experience with the music, and he was like, man, that's all we want to do is bring that experience to people every time we play. And I was like, wow. All right.
Yeah.
That's the final
admirable.
piece of the puzzle right there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. What's up, Bren? What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. Saying,
Yes, absolutely.
That's super important when you're playing in front of people to have that intention. That brings
Yeah.
a whole new level for sure.
And he was saying, like, well, you guys are going to hear it, but saying that he doesn't feel like he's even playing at the crowd. He's playing with them when he plays.
I don't know if he specifically like came out and say it, but we were talking about like the direction of the energy at the show, and it made me think about like when you're in the crowd, it feels like everything's coming at you this way, but if you're on stage, the amount of energy just blasting at your face from the whole crowd has to be like intense. Like it's gotta.
That was the thing that blew me away about, and I hope we're not rehashing.
It doesn't matter.
That was the thing. That was
We're
the
in the
thing
moment.
that blew me away about going to a jam show, was that it wasn't that. It wasn't at me. It was with me. That was what got me. Like, I had been to many concerts
How can
before
you explain that?
I can bring you to a show. That's the only way for me to explain that.
Yeah,
Can
the
you
show
explain
has to
it, Jake?
explain it.
I have to agree with Aaron on that one. It's just about being there and the direct experience. But you have to wonder sometimes with these guys what it's like to have 10 or 20 or 30,000 people high on psychedelics just staring at you. Like intertwining with every soul.
Not just staring at you.
Yeah, like becoming you.
But yeah, like shooting themselves energetically
from their
at you.
perspective.
We do know what it's like. It's the same thing that's happening to us in the crowd is happening to them up on the stage, or it wouldn't be happening to us out in the crowd.
Well, I feel like it's
the vantage
jam
point.
specifically would have to be. It would be coming from you at two directions, because you're tapping into that like higher energetic thing that's coming. You're connecting with the crowd, but you're also connecting with something else. It's a four-way.
You've seen
Give
me
and
at
take,
shows.
take, give.
You've seen me at shows, Ryder, get stuck spinning.
Yeah,
That's what that is. That you're participating in that circular dance that's happening with the energy in the room, and it's
But everybody's not
participatory.
spinning.
No, everybody's not in the same place. Like it's happening to.
I just
to
love
us.
our scene. I love that we have this. I just absolutely love the fact that we're able to create a place for this ritual to take place and have all these amazing people come together and just even do it, to have this guy do this, and Colin and everyone.
I'm excited
it's
to
amazing.
see a Circa show, because I've listened to them for 10 years. I've never listened to them as a jam band at all.
What do you, like in that mindset? you
Yeah,
mean?
no. And it sounds, and I've never been to one of their shows, and it sounds like from him talking about his shows that's what it is. And it's definitely psychedelic rock.
And they're going to be playing at the Crystal Ballroom and playing their. Is it their first album?
No, their third album.
Front to
10-year
back.
anniversary of their third album, which
When's
is
that?
actually
When is that?
that is going to be in April, he said, I think.
Yeah, I think it's in April. Yeah, man. This was super fun. And we even have other podcasts that we have recorded that we were going to put out this week, but we waited because I felt like this was such a good episode that it needed to go out right away because it fits the time right now. And, when Jake and Bryn, Break and Gin got
You
here,
did it!
got
Jake
here-
and Bryn.
got here earlier this evening. We were having a conversation a little bit about Mercury and retrograde, and
Is Mercury in retrograde right
It
now?
is until November
Mercury
20th.
is in Gatorade right now.
Gatorade.
Yep.
Look, every time I try to deny it, I go through this every time. I say, no, it's bullshit. This is stupid. This is bullshit.
Why would you pay attention to that?
This
Jake?
why, and then eventually, like shit just starts happening. I'm like, fuck.
If
and
it's
then
in your consciousness,
and then
it's gonna get
eventually-
you.
So wait, are you
eventually I
making it happen,
surrender.
Jake?
No, I keep telling myself, like, am I making it? And then eventually I have to surrender. I'm like, fine.
Surrender to the flow. The trick is
So
to
you
surrender to the
surrendered?
flow. So we were talking about that earlier, and I felt like this conversation is an antidote to Mercury retrograde.
Can someone real quick explain to me what that's supposed to mean?
Okay,
Can
wait.
you dim the lights a little bit?
Before Jake gets into the explanation of Mercury and retrograde, Ryder, you know who Mercury is, right?
The god of war, yes.
He's no.
That's
Communication.
Mars. Sorry, yep.
Mercury is the messenger.
Okay.
He's the
the
dude
wing.
that like communicates between the gods and humans,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
He's the
So-
only one that could go
so
Got a cool
if-
little wing
if-
helmet.
If something is in retrograde, it's
Retro.
hidden or behind.
So,
think about what
so
retro
it's
means.
communication
It's moving
is
backwards, right?
is being
Stunted.
Stunted. Okay.
It's when Mercury is in retrograde, it's a bad idea to have really heavy, deep, emotional conversations with people that you love.
Contracts
Are a
business
bad idea.
dealings,
Business deals.
things that have to do with direct communication and things that can be misunderstood.
What you're saying is when Mercury's in retrograde, I just shouldn't talk to people at all.
No. Well,
But you know what?
that'd be
It
a
would
safe
actually be a
bet.
great time to go within and to do like
24-hour
some
silent
kind of
meditation.
yeah,
A lot
some
of it is-
vipassana,
Yeah,
right?
introspection.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things I ever read
Work
about
with it.
Mercury retrograde was just put a "re" in front of everything, and it was just about how it's time to rewind, relax, reconnect,
Oh, wow.
rethink, anything, and it's not a bad time. It's not that it's things are gonna
Or
fall
re-
apart. It's more
regurgitate?
about regurgitate.
That's
Sure.
a bad time.
It's like the seasons, Bryn, is it not?
Oh, but being the god of communication, it also does affect technology and affect. I mean, that's
yep.
often when people's phones break, when people's like, oh, this thing got erased. This thing. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
just
now I have to
random
pay
stuff
attention
like
at
that.
work.
Yeah, now you got to pay attention at work.
Oh,
but it's,
wow.
Then,
okay.
then are you
Yeah.
looking for it?
And things with contracts and all that, it's often that it's not that it doesn't work
Observ-
out, but it's that it
observational
ends
bias?
up having to be redone. And because
Right.
the communication was a little bit off. Or
And what I've noticed,
real quick. I
Yes,
love
yes.
watching you two share, Mike. It's so
I know
great.
Bryn
It's epic.
and
It's
Jake
so
really
great.
need
Another
their own
splitter next
mics.
time.
Bryn needs her own mic.
It's coming next time. We'll get one more splitter, and we're gonna have 6 channels, and it's gonna be amazing.
just a window into our inner life.
Bryn needs to be putting this festival on.
You
None
know,
of you can see it, but they've just been like trying to talk into it and passing it back and forth. All right, good. Continue.
here's
Sorry.
the thing. Mercury retrograde. I'm not deep in astrology, but it is an ancient science. There is something behind it. There's so much energy behind it. With Mercury retrograde, like I said, I don't know. Like all I know is every time I try to deny it, every time I try to turn away, weird shit happens.
Like
And then
what?
just-
What kind of weird shit happens?
Well, like something will just like randomly erase, like Bryn said, or just like communication stuff or things not working out with contracts or various situations. Like if you were trying to book something and maybe something didn't
Something
work
else
out.
happened.
And then but then you surrender to it and you can use it to your advantage if you understand the aspects.
So wait a minute. Okay, I know that a lot of people out there, it's almost like a weird fear. Oh my God, Mercury's in retrograde.
Yeah, I mean it could just be something.
Yeah. Don't talk. I can't do anything when Mercury's in retrograde.
Well, it's
I
just
don't want
like
to talk.
everybody takes things to the next level.
But-
you
But that would be
know?
3 times
Well,
a year for 3 weeks.
But let's.
Those people weren't going to do
Or
anything
people,
anyways.
Not everybody.
Those
They're
people
just
weren't-
using it as an excuse.
yeah, it's people just using excuse.
But check it out. How can you use it to your advantage, Jake?
Because it is like Bryn said, you put a re in front of what it is. It's a rebirth, regrowth. The thing is you can use it for transformation. You know that there's this shift of energy, and I believe during those times it's like a full moon. You when the moon is full and you're out and you're sensitive, you can feel that lunar energy. When Mercury retrograde is at its peak and it's at its the midpoint of its cycle, it's really strong. You can feel that energy, and I think that's something that can help you project your intentions. You can push your intentions through that, like what you want to accomplish after Mercury retrograde's over.
So do you think it could act like almost like an amplifier for your stuff, or like an oven you're putting your intention or your will or your whatever into the oven for a little while during Mercury retrograde, and then when it's over, it gets delivered. The message gets delivered.
Right, and that's often what it is a time it's a great time for planning things, for, deconstructing things in your head, for figuring all that out. And then once it's direct again, it's like, okay, and now I'm going to set up that contract, or now I'm going to move forward with this plan after it's like a percolation time. And also just to say that Mercury isn't the only planet. All planets go into retrograde. Mercury is the closest. It's the planet that has the shortest cycle around the sun. So it goes most frequently. And the other planets, they all have, Venus goes into retrograde. Well, we could talk about what that means. And that's usually, Saturn goes into Mercury. Stop. So anyway, yeah.
No, but the other thing too is that you mentioned what are some of the attributes. I remember now that having to do things over is a big one, like 1 or 2 different times. Like you go to the bank to cash a check, like for whatever reason it wasn't signed by the right person, so then you have to go back and get another check, and you're like, God, and then you got to go to the bank again. It's things like that. It's where you have to do things multiple times over. Is one of the characteristics. That's what I've experienced.
I want to know about Venus in retrograde.
Yeah, that sounds like a love issue. It does. That's exactly. I mean, that sounds like exactly what it is. Yeah.
Sure. So I recently found out that I was born during a Mercury retrograde. Oh. What does that mean?
It means your whole life's fucked.
No.
Damn, Ryder. Damn, dude.
Jeez, dude.
Well,
I don't know.
It was a joke. Come on, guys.
It's too late. You already
Come
said
on.
Yep, you can't take that laugh.
It's just, you want to put some stock in some things. You don't want to go overboard. Like have people.
No, you were born in a time where you need to, like
you
said,
live.
relax and have a lot of self-reflection during this time.
Yeah,
and you're one of those people that has that self-reflection already innately in you because you were born during that time.
There you go.
Oh,
Mel,
snap.
with the knowledge.
That's so much better than what I said.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
It's all there. It's just information, but Mel is just crushing it right now.
Yeah.
It is just not, you know what? I think I was not into the science of astrology until Simon was born, is when I really started to get into yoga and astrology and meditation. And the main reason was because I just had a hard time understanding him as a child.
He was a difficult, understanding kid.
Yeah, Sydney was so different. I felt like I was really connected and in tune, but him, I felt like he was coming from another level. So I started to learn about what it meant to be born on August, his birthday, I'm not going to say it, and what does that mean? And it helped me deal with him. I was like, oh, that's part of his personality.
Right.
And so instead of getting pissed, I was like, okay, he's just a little bit of drama. And it's not that serious.
Just a little bit.
But if I keep poking him, then it turns into something real quick because he ain't scared to fight and he is willing to fight. And he's just wanting to be coddled and loved on instead of coming at sharp, And so I learned so much about the interplay of
and you were
mom
able
and
to
son.
adapt your parenting to
Yes, it was information. It was a tool. Astrology became a tool that was helpful.
That's exactly what I was going to say. There's a lot of people that live and die by thing here: yoga, astrology, magic,
nutrition.
Science,
you can't use one tool for every. There's no
blah, blah,
one
blah.
tool for every situation.
Well, that's not what I was going to say. You can't put 100% stock in anything. I have found, in my experience,
except yourself.
Some things work sometimes, and some things don't work other times, and some things apply, and sometimes they don't. And that's what I think the wisdom of age is understanding when things apply and when they don't. It just that's what it boils down to, and it comes from fucking blowing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Exactly. You have to
trial by error.
You have to try all of them because you have to try too much and too little in order to be like, oh, so that's like learning your dosage, right? You take one Tylenol and that shit didn't do shit.
We'll go with Tylenol.
Yeah, and then you take another Tylenol and you're like, I don't need anymore. It helped out. Whatever.
I didn't need that second Tylenol at set break.
Yeah, I did not need that second Tylenol at set break.
That's why there's so much behind that. Are you experienced?
Yeah.
Experience. With age comes experience. There's no replacing that. I don't care how much you read, how many classes you take. With age, that's one thing you get in return.
Yeah. But anyway.
What class did you take, Ryder?
It was from an internet video. Never mind.
See, nobody here.
I know. We need more goddamn.
This is the problem with kids today. I'm just joking.
I mean, I've shown you the video.
Is that a new guest or?
Whoa. Anyway, this all brings us back to.
What were we talking about?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring it back right now.
We got this.
This all brings us back to how difficult it is to make friends when you're older and finding people
When did that
match your
happen?
frequency.
Oh.
Because I'll tell you what.
She wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, you were in the other room.
Okay. I'm like,
Welcome.
You were looking.
back.
That was when you went and looked in the mirror. Actually,
Yeah, you were stuck in the mirror.
I had a fucking thing in my eye, and I think it's still in there. And
this is
I'm
the
trying
problem
to-
with
Your left
recording
eye looks
inside. There's
really
too many
fatty.
distractions.
I've been like poking my eye all this entire podcast, you guys. I look like one of
Your
those
eye
little.
looks like it hurts.
Yeah, it does. It really does hurt.
Do you want those medicated eye drops?
This is the thing
Not right now.
that I was saying earlier about
I've
making
s-
friends as you get older. There's a lot going on. We know all this fucking crazy shit, right? Everything that we just went off 20 minutes on is all shit that we all carry around in our heads that we didn't have in our heads when we were 10. We knew what Bugs Bunny was. I knew that I liked cereal and I liked to ride my bike. And that's about all that it was. Now we're talking about Mercury in retrograde and planets and blah,
Very
blah,
cosmic
blah.
things.
Yeah. And so finding other
10-year-old's pretty
people.
We
cosmic.
evolved.
We
Yeah.
grew, yes.
You grow up and finding other
growing
people
up.
that match
Yep.
that frequency is beautiful
Yeah.
and wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I was going to say
And
we're
sweet.
all focused on growth. Like you're trying to grow your podcast. You're all trying to grow as people. Ryder, Apple, everybody's trying to do better in their own way. And I think that that's kind of hard to find because as you get older, people tend to stagnate. They get enough of a job to stay comfortable. They got a house, they got a car, they get some money, you buy some groceries, they're fine. You guys are all focused on growth. We're focused on growth.
Well,
Yeah.
And that's the vibe that No Simple Road is putting out there. They want everybody to do better. They want everybody to get this
That is true.
information.
I can't argue with that.
Dude, and that's the thing that blew me away about Colin, and is that talk about focused on growth. Like,
Yeah.
I've known about ayahuasca for a long time, and the thought of going to the jungle to confront myself while shitting and vomiting is terrifying.
in front of a group.
Not even the in front of any. That doesn't come into my head. Just the thought of that period is really scary, and to be able to like, fuck it, and I'm going for it. I'm gonna find out what's on the other side of that thing. That's somebody I want to hang out with.
He talked
That
about the
takes
mental
some,
prep that it
that's
takes.
balls.
That takes some cojones.
Yeah, he said there was a lot of preparation
Psychic
in that.
cojones.
And so think about it. If you know you're going to go for a fight, you got to train up like Rocky. And he was going to go spiritually fight some shit and enter the jungle like Axel. And you're going to die.
And it must be so hard to be thousands of miles
did.
away from your house.
Yeah,
like you're
I
just
know.
so far away
Well,
from anything you know.
If you guys out there want to hear about his
Ooh,
experience,
you should listen,
There's
guys.
a 2-part podcast on Third Eye Drops.
Oh, wow.
If you search Third Eye Drops on any of the podcasting platforms, you'll find it, and it's a couple of episodes back, and that podcast is awesome. That's
Way
one
to
of,
help the community. Let's
Dude,
check it out.
That's
I
one of
wanna
the
know.
ones I listen to all the time.
That's a great name.
Well, I
It
just,
is. I was
Third
like,
Eye
wow.
Drop.
I was just thinking that. That's a good
and they
it's
one.
a
also make
great show.
documentaries too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did a documentary of I think it's
I don't think it's them.
well, whoever is in the documentary, it's a trip. It's a psychedelic trip, and she takes 2.5 tabs, I think, of LSD.
250 micrograms of
Yeah.
LSD.
And they film the entire thing, and it's all like silent, pretty much, isn't it? Right? It's like silent.
No,
A little-
she's
Oh
talking.
yeah, she does
Yeah.
music.
She's painting. And
Well, it's just all her in the entire movie. There's nobody else in it except till the very end. And it's very interesting. It's like 15, 20 minutes. So, yeah, shout out to Third Eye Drops.
Yeah, man. And so go over there. You'll hear, I think it's Michael is the host. And him and Colin went to Blue Morpho together down in South America. And they podcasted kind of like we do with the festivals when we go.
Okay.
They did the whole thing with their journey down there.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty amazing. So check it out. And, you know.
So where are you at with that? Where are you ready to try ayahuasca in your life?
Mm-mm.
I mean, what does that mean to you, like trying ayahuasca? Like, what does that mean to you? Like, if somebody said, hey, do you want to try ayahuasca? Like, how would you define that?
Well, first of all, I don't look at that as like something I would do on a whim.
Yeah, that's
first
not
off.
like a,
like
hey,
if somebody
wanna...
was like, hey, do you want to take
No, I mean,
ayahuasca?
like,
Got a free. Hey, this weekend I'm free. Let's ayahuasca. Yeah, no.
In a ritualistic setting, but, you know, like understanding the true proper context.
You know
and all
what?
that.
If you met some cool dude at a club that you connected with, you didn't know him very well, but he was like,
And he
hey,
said,
man,
let's go to the bathroom.
No.
Wait a second.
I'm setting up the scene. And you guys started to, you know, hang out back and forth a little bit. And he was like, hey, dude, I know this guy. Fucking, do you want to do ayahuasca? It's not far from home. And it's totally awesome, legit. What do you think? Would
Actually,
you do
even better, he comes to your home.
No.
Okay,
No, a
so-
short drive.
So
No.
let me answer this.
I have definite no. It'd have to be in the right setting. That's something that's supposed to be spiritual and done.
I would not.
You wouldn't do it in the forests of Oregon?
I wouldn't. I think that this is just me. This doesn't go for anybody else out there. I'm not putting any shit on anybody that's done whatever they've done. This is me in my head. I feel like that stuff came from the jungle. And for me, if I was going to do it, I want to do it in the jungle. I want to be where that stuff is indigenous and it lives. I want to go to its house.
Where the history
I don't want it
where the
coming to my
history
house.
is.
I want to be where that energy is the strongest. If I decided I was going to do that.
Well, what
Okay,
about those-
someone decides to
Pay for my trip down to South America.
flies you out there all at like no
Well,
cost
why
to
wouldn't
you.
he?
Of course I would go.
Just gonna
Okay.
get an email tomorrow morning.
Well, in that sense,
plane tickets ready to
Yeah.
and
go.
in
course I
that
would
sense,
go.
you'd start
Okay.
preparing for it.
Yeah,
You'd
I would,
find
yeah,
out,
I would,
and you'd
at
like,
that point, I would say to myself, the medicine has come to me. It's offering me an opportunity. I'm taking it.
What about you, Bryn? What would you say?
Not yet. My kids are. I'm still. No, I'm not ready to go off to the jungle yet.
How about
But I
you?
like
yeah.
And supposedly, you know, they have places in Ashland, Oregon, and you know, there's the guy who literally has a TV show called Kentucky Ayahuasca, where they have church.
Yeah.
Have you seen that
No,
show?
I
It's
have
like
not.
it's
Seen
this
some
guy
of
in
that.
Kentucky, and he like leads people on ayahuasca trips because he has like a church, you know, where you get like so you don't get in legal trouble. I'm forgetting the word right now. Exemption. He got a legal
Okay,
exemption because
okay.
of his church. So
Yeah.
he has a TV show where every episode he's leading people on ayahuasca trips. And we actually saw, I don't watch much TV, but that we saw that show, and it's amazing. And he's like very like simple and funny. And he's like, Mother Aya, I'm doing a correct impression. Mother Aya is here to help you. Mother Aya is going to take what you happened to you and the tragedy in your life and
So
turn
he's
it.
like a preacher?
He's like a shamanic kind of like real chill, just kind of like dude. And he has a show. So then from there, and I was saying
So
in
he
Ashland,
verbalizes your journey?
like he sits and shamans you like a guy would in Peru,
Wow.
except he's doing it in Kentucky in like a trailer or something. It's
like the
it's-
Smoky Mountains.
I mean, who's
or
to say
something.
that ayahuasca
You know
didn't
what?
end up in Kentucky?
Yeah, it did.
That's
the
what
thing.
I'm
So
saying.
would you-
Ayahuasca can jump and come
Well,
to
would you do that?
Sure.
They have to do it in like a lesser dose. So they do that, but they have to do it in like half the strength than you would if you were to go down in Peru and do it. So would you ever potentially do it at something like that, Church of Ashland or whatever?
I like that. Just your idea about that. I didn't really think about that. Going to where that plant is indigenous, because there's a lot of talk in the herbalism world, especially in alchemical herbalism, about, you know, when you're there's a style of making medicine that's called spagyrics, where you're working with astrology and you're basically you're lining up, like this is a Venus plant, rose is a Venus plant, and you're lining it up with the Venus hour on Friday, the Venus day. So you're potentizing that
That's
cosmic
magic.
energy into that plant. And then you're taking that in, you know, I mean, there's a whole way bigger process than that, but that's the idea. So that's
Right.
interesting that you said that about that's where that plant.
Well, you know about the morphic field, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where the morphic field, where it lives for that plant. I mean, not that it can't extend its roots out, its mycelial network out
Of
into the
course.
world, of
Yeah.
course. But I want to go to the source. If I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole, I'm going down the fucking rabbit hole.
And
I'm
plus, like,
not
Let's
pussyfoot.
do it.
Yeah.
talking about like preparation, like preparing yourself, it's like a pilgrimage. It's a journey.
Yeah.
Walk about it.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a journey down there.
It's a
You
life
leave your home, go
to
to a new land, go into the forest,
Where I don't
into the
speak the
jungle.
language.
Yeah, like it's
So it's like a
whole
12-hour
thing.
super potent DMT trip, essentially.
It's like a week long. That's the
He did, dude. 5 ceremonies,
Well, he said the 5th one was
a half a dose, but
wow,
yeah,
that's some serious flushing.
five
that's a lot
five
of work.
ceremonies over 6 days.
it's a lot of work.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So
It is a lot of work.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a lot of work, and you guys will hear there's a lot of preparation that goes into it, even before leaving here, before leaving Portland.
sure.
Well,
there's-
think about everything you
It's
have
just
to
like
do.
a cleanse you would do. You would,
Right,
you know, give
but
up
everything you
caffeine.
even have to do to get there, right? Like
Absolutely.
you're booking your plane tickets with that mentality. You're packing your bag with that mentality.
all your intentions.
All to go there. What do you want to have when you're there? Like these are all things while you're gathering everything up that are very conscious in your brain. Like you have to go to the store and get this certain thing or get vaccinations or whatever. Like there's a whole thing.
the thing that comes to mind for me, it's so alien to what we do and who we are right now. It's scary. Like the thought of it is scary. That when we were talking to Colin, I was like, I wanted to ask you, were you terrified when you got on the plane? But of course you were. Like, of course that's in your head. I'm sure that's not the driving motivator as you take off. Like, but like, I'm sure that's in there. You know what I mean? Like,
Scary
gotta be
excitement.
scary excitement. Yeah,
It's
like
the
that.
roller coaster.
You're
We're
totally.
going
Oh
up.
shit! What am I doing? And then you get there, and there's like buckets and pallets on the floor, and you're in the jungle, and you're trying to like integrate the energy that's happening. You're like, okay, it's gonna be all right. Like this is all me just picturing what it's like, and then it's coming on, and you're like, oh shit, this isn't what I thought. And then you're on the ride.
Right. Well, and it's not like you can just say,
Jump off.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go home now,
Yeah,
actually.
I'm good.
I want to go
Mom.
home.
Like, somebody come pick
Are
me
you
up.
good to drive, bro?
Yeah,
Mom,
no shit.
Mom, can you come get me? I'm in Peru.
Yeah,
Where's my
exactly.
Uber? I need an Uber. I'm out of here.
Apple, would you do it? Or
right now?
under
No.
what circumstances?
Apple.
I'm
If
very intrigued by it, but no, if like it was available right now, I wouldn't want to do it. I feel the same way. If I was going to do it, that's the type of thing that would be the dedication.
Would you
do
pay
it
to
like
go
that.
to Peru?
At this point in life, no. I'm entertained. I liked watching the shows about it. I get all this and everything, but I don't feel the need for that in my life. I don't need a drastic change of that type. I don't feel I have like that to confront, or I feel like everything else we do is just enough for
That's
all that.
excellent,
That's
Apple.
fair.
That's an honest answer
Awesome
right there,
answer.
man.
Yeah,
That's an honest answer.
I like that answer.
That's
lot.
a great answer, actually. That's just that's
Well
means
done,
you're in a
well
good
done,
place.
sir. You won.
Thank you.
Everybody, give Apple a clap.
Thank you.
Well, also, every plant is entheogenic. It's just some speak
Right.
louder than others.
Parsley is
Yeah,
entheogenic.
yes.
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
is entheogenic, and it's
Like
just
beets to me are like, oh, don't eat me. Tastes
Well,
like dirt. Oh no.
Have you ever sat and meditated with beets? I mean, you might
No,
not
that's
know,
true.
But
Good point. Jim.
Let
so it's
Brent
like,
talk.
Don't
like
go
that,
assuming.
you know, I don't need that giant change in your life. You're saying, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, there's some
Yeah.
those plants. That's a loud speaker plant. That's like, yo, God, here, you know. And it's not. Maybe you can go sit with the cedar outside of your house, and you might sit there for an hour for 10 weeks, and then at some point during that 10 weeks, you might have the most amazing, life-changing connection that you've ever had compared to anything else you've ever done at any show on any amount of substances.
Right.
It's all about, your willingness to
Well, it's
open
like your
yourself
sensitivity
to, that channel.
to
Absolutely.
nature. Because
So,
I remember this was years ago. I was on a girls' trip to Golden, Colorado, and we were coming from dinner, and we were walking, and it was this gorgeous neighborhood in Golden, Colorado, and we were staying in this Airbnb, and all of a sudden, I see this tree across the street, and it was like the equivalent of seeing like something that like just made your jaw drop, like a waterfall or a beautiful person or like a gorilla in the wild or something like you weren't supposed to see or that you were lucky to see. And I turn and I see this big tree, and it was like grand. The trunk was like super huge, and it compelled me, and I ran after it and I gave it a hug. Like I literally tree hugged it. I've never felt like that about another tree or ever since. But that like called to me, and it felt like my grandpa. And there was a lot of like really weird synchronicity and psychedelic shit that was going on in Colorado during that time with me as well. But that tree calling out to me was, it was like beyond alluring, because it wasn't like any kind of like sexual in nature, but it was familiar and drawing, like, oh my gosh, it's you, but to a tree. What the hell? So think about if you do meditate on anything that's alive and you begin to nurture a relationship with it, whether it be cannabis, whether it be a beat, whether it be a child, you can do that with anything and elevate your experience with it.
So would you go down and drink ayahuasca, Mel?
Well, what situation would you like? Would you do it here?
It's so hard to have my own thoughts because Aaron and I are so closely entwined, so I'm like, what situation would I be in when I would be doing it by myself without him?
I have disappeared.
You're disappeared. I feel a huge portion like Apple, like I really love my life and everything that's going on with it, and all the things that we do are enough of a maintenance that keeps me out, but I also feel like I absolutely could and would benefit from it as well. So if the perfect opportunity arose, I would never turn it down, but I don't know that I necessarily need to go seek it out personally to do.
And the big part of that question too, that Ryder added, would you pay to go do that? Well, that's not.
If
cheap
I had
to
the
fly down
money,
to Peru
if
for
I
a
had the
week.
money, I'd pay for
How
it.
much
exactly?
How much are we talking now?
So
How
a
much
good
is
10
money?
grand at least. No, I'm just saying if you want to go comfortable, you have to pay these people. Like you have whatever to prepare to take time off of work.
I think no.
I think yeah.
None of us know, so we're not going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
that's my guess.
I think where you could do it for probably around 4 or 5. That's about what it would cost to go to like Costa Rica or Mexico for a week to have a good time and do it right and nice. But
I would do it. I would pay $500.
Do you know Hotels.com has ayahuasca packages?
No way.
2 nights.
I
Peruvian
actually,
shaman.
Wait,
well, ayahuasca Hilton.
Finish your thought, Ryder.
I would absolutely do it for sure.
They typically cost $150 to $300 a night in North America. That's in North America.
Yeah, North America.
So
thinking like I want the real shit.
Hang on. I'm looking it up.
This
I
just
would
to go for the price to attend the ceremony.
$600 USD for a 5-day retreat.
Yeah, I would do that. I would do that for sure.
But that's
not
like going to an
astronomical.
amusement park. That's
one
wise for the
place,
amusement park. You got to
Yeah.
fly down there.
Does that
You got to miss a
include
week of work. You
the
got to
flight?
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lot that goes into the expense of that.
So
not
you're
just
talking
the $650.
with the flight. That's
You're talking a couple grand.
A couple grand.
well,
That's not that
with
much.
the flight. That's only another $150, $200. That's
$200 to get to.
Okay, I'm sorry, I brought
To
up
and
the
from?
cost again. Let's forget about the cost.
Anyway,
I don't know why we're getting
it's
caught up in
honestly
this.
is kind of an important thing. That's
well, if you buy an
you've
espresso
spent-
every day, that's going to be another $27.50.
money is important.
probably.
It's
true.
time. It's
What about your
time
time
in
is
your
for work?
life that you've
Yep, you've
converted
given.
into a
Ones and
form
zeros.
of So it is important. But yes, absolutely, I would
so
do
I
that.
think what we got from all this, though, is that everybody here would do it under the right circumstances.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
very intrigued.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't help but like this. I look forward to hearing this and everything. I shows
But
you
you know
see
what?
everybody that does it. I have not heard. Well, they probably wouldn't be doing a show on a person having a bad trip. Everybody you hear the experience is amazing.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's not like that. It's not, from what I have gathered, there's no bad trip or good trip.
Yeah.
It's a trip. and it encompasses everything. You're in hell and in heaven.
It seemed to me that like just the way listening to him, it was like an entire like a play, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And no matter if you did it for 1 day or 5 days, it was still a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so whatever your lesson is, or whatever your thing is, or whatever your intention is, no matter what the duration is, you're gonna find what you need in that time.
Yeah. And I guess that's what I meant, the aftermath of hearing the story, kind of like a DMT experience. You don't hear people going, I wish I would have never done DMT.
No, I've never heard anybody say that.
You may have gone through hell, shit yourself, thrown up, fucking whatever, but the aftermath of once it's sunk in is a great story of confronting yourself, things, whatever.
Overcoming your demons.
And think about it like this too. It's so like grand, confronting over these like big parts of your life, and then you come back home and you can never explain that. Not even to your lover.
Tell your friends
or your best
tell your friends
friend.
about the dream you had last night and watch their faces glaze over.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very personal journey.
I wonder how it would affect your relationship.
Well, look at Colin.
I mean, we didn't get to talk about it only because Sarah wasn't here.
We talked about it a little bit.
But yeah, like how would it?
Like 15 minutes.
But talking to him about them, that'd be like talking to you about how Mel feels.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
You could be,
Yeah.
So
I think she feels great about
it. If it changes you on a fundamental level, that means
it could also enrich the
I'm
beauty
sure it does.
of what you already have.
And we haven't talked anything about, honestly, the biggest thing I got from this conversation with him was being the medicine. Like you change, you've changed, but in your changing, you change all of the people around you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what alchemical medicine is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And
it started with that. That's
you
how
become
you start.
The spore.
That's how this conversation started with alchemy.
Yeah. Well, and like what you were saying, I mean, that's something that we talk a lot about in herbalism is the plants that seek you out. There will be a plant in the forest that stands up and calls your name, and that's your medicine. And then you become that medicine. Whoa. So like, what's that tree that called to you? And maybe you haven't seen that same tree, but maybe there's something about that tree
if it was, for me and that during that whole trip, it was all ancestral.
Yeah, well,
it was like I stayed in my grandma's old house, which it wasn't my grandma's house, but that's what it felt like. And then I saw that grandpa tree, which it wasn't a grandpa, but
no, but there was something. Maybe you encountered a tree like that in your childhood, or maybe there was something about that was present for you. But I like what you all were saying about like if the perfect situation came, if it presented itself to me, not
I'm not closed off to any experience.
I'm gonna go. It's more about like, is that the medicine that's gonna stand up and call your name? Is that
definitely not?
Yeah, we have so much going on in our life, so much potential for transformation that I don't need to go out and seek anything out.
It's happening right here in the house right now with this conversation.
That's what I used to do back in Vegas. I was into so much stuff, and I'm grateful for it because I like learned so many things. I was like a sponge, and I still love to learn, but like I feel less driven to go outside. I feel more Mercury in retrograde on the inside.
Creating your own mojo.
I feel like that. I'm working with the energies of Mercury. Shout out Mercury.
Well,
Retro.
on that note, we're gonna get you guys get guys to the interview. We're gonna do the business real quick. So follow us on Instagram and all the social media platforms at No Simple Road. Check us out on Facebook at No Simple Road, and go and join the No Simple Road family group over there and interact with your fellow No Simple Road family members. Head over to Reddit. Play with the Reddit crew over there. Check out the Discord server. Go to nosimpleroad.com and check out the merch on the gear tab, because there's hoodies and there's t-shirts and there's a bunch of different colors, and you need to be warm this winter, so you should wear a No Simple Road hoodie. Jake, do you like
I got a maroon one, and the maroon color is
you look great
awesome.
in it.
I got one in the
They're
mail
so
that's
soft.
absolutely fantastic.
They're
Let
so
me tell you,
soft.
people.
Is it soft?
It's soft. It's comfortable. It's amazing. I give it my highest recommendation.
I got a maroon one as well, Apple.
Did you? Isn't it cool? It's
Yes.
a cool color.
It's a good
and it's
color.
so
I like it.
soft.
You guys are
It's
cool.
so soft inside. Like
I got a white one and I love it,
I like
and I
your
need to
white
wash
one.
it so I can wear it.
I can never have a white one.
I
don't know
really
how you
love
do
the
it.
design.
I
absolutely
already
love
stained
the
it and
design.
I don't care. I don't care.
I love the
when I
design.
got it, I was like, this is my like blankie. I don't care if I drop juice on it. I don't care if I get dirty, snot. I don't care.
The
It's
thing is,
mine.
you should see it. It's dirty,
And
snotty,
nobody will
there's
touch it because they'll be like,
mustard.
"Ooh," but
for
it's
me,
mine.
having a No Simple Road hoodie, it's almost like a secret handshake. It's like if somebody
Yes.
sees me out there, they know.
They
that
know
I
you know what's up.
and you know that they know that they know that you know,
And then we all
everybody
know.
knows.
Everybody's
Everybody's
in the
know.
know.
And now
Well,
you
not
know.
everybody.
And you can be in the know
But not unless you have a sweatshirt.
if you have a sweatshirt. You
And-
need a sweatshirt.
or a t-shirt.
Or a beanie.
Yeah,
right? Or-
t-shirt,
No
sticker.
No beanies.
Okay, no
Just
beanies.
t-shirts.
Well,
And-
unless you made your own beanie, then
Well, that's
Check
fine.
this
Then
out.
you should
If
send
you
it in.
really,
Send in your
really,
design.
right?
if you really, really, really want to have a secret handshake, go to patreon.com / No Simple
And
Road
be a
and
Chan
become a
donator.
Chan donator, man.
Chan donators
Look,
You get a
world
special sticker.
unite.
this is the thing. This takes money. It just does.
It does.
That's
Everything
the way.
takes money.
That's the way it goes, man. That's how we pay for the show. If you enjoy listening to No Simple Road every week, look, $1 a month. That's it. That's easy. A quarter a show. You get 4 shows a month. A quarter a show. No big deal. Patreon.com / No Simple Road. And you too can become a Chan donator.
You too.
Yeah. You
But
too.
you mean Bono? That'd be rad if he was a Chan
That would-
donator.
dude.
Thank you out there.
You know, he's buddies with the Moon Alice guy. You know,
You
Yes.
never know
gotta-
what'll happen. So yeah, man. And if you can't do anything monetarily for the show right now, go and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts.
Do we have a new one?
No. Leave us a
I was
5-star
just, I
review
was just looking. I was hoping.
I was like looking
on
for
Apple
I was
Podcasts.
so hoping to leave them, man. Come
Or
on.
subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening to us on, because that means the world to us. It puts us up in the ratings and it helps more people find out about the show. And speaking about finding out more about the show, we are on this awesome podcast network, the Osiris Podcast Network. And there's 2 new podcasts coming out on Osiris, and I'm going to read you the copy for this thing. The first one is called After Midnight. It tells the story of Fish's groundbreaking festival on the eve of the new millennium, Big Cypress. Fish, check this out. This is crazy.
When is this letter? Like what?
Fish built a city for 80,000 fans in the Everglades and capped off the festival by playing for 7 hours, ending the concert during sunrise on January 1st, 2000. This first 5-episode series includes interviews with band members Trey Anastasio and John Fishman, fans and crew, and looks back on one of the most unique performances in music history. Yeah, check it out and go to osirispod.com / after midnight to subscribe. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to play you the trailer right now. Check this out.
You're like with your friends, they're sleeping over, like, we're going to stay up all night. And then you remember, like, if you're a little kid, you're kind of like, well, you can't stay up all night. It's impossible.
We're going to go now to the Big Cypress Seminole Indian Reservation in Florida. There was the biggest traffic jam that we know of in the country.
Thousands of people from all across the country all headed to the Everglades to hear the group Fish perform for New Year's.
75,000 people.
75,000 people.
And we couldn't really believe that they were going to play all night. It just didn't even seem possible. Like, how could that even happen?
It happened because for the previous 15 years, the band Fish blazed a fearless and unlikely creative path from deepest Vermont to the Florida Everglades, and one of the most legendary performances of all time. It was the year of Woodstock 99.
The crowds are blowing up CO2 tanks from the tractor trailers. They got the troops in there with riot gear. They're forcing everybody out. Mass chaos. Mass chaos.
Some 20,000 attended the first Coachella that October. The Backstreet Boys ruled MTV. Moby topped the music critics polls and licensed every song on his new album for commercial use. Far, far away from everything, everybody, and everywhere, in Jack Motlow's cow pasture on the Seminole Big Cypress Reservation in Florida, with no sponsorship at all, Fish built a city for 75,000 people, erected surrealistic art installations, and staged a 3-day festival with one act and one act only on the bill. and then played a 7-hour-long set that lasted from the final minutes of the 20th century into the literal dawn of the 21st. After Midnight, Phish's Big Cypress Festival, a new 5-episode podcast from Osiris, is the story of how Phish staged one of the strangest concerts in the history of rock music. My name is Jesse Jarno. Join us as we explore how Phish invented their own telepathic, jam-obsessed musical language, built an independent concert industry, and how both came together in the Florida Everglades for an improvisation-filled performance that landed a 15-foot-long hot dog with headlights in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll hear from band members Trey Anastasio.
You know, I think we felt like this party was for our friends.
And John Fishman.
That was the end of a chapter of Phish's life, that and of my life.
Former Phish manager John Paluska and others will tell the dramatic, untold story of Phish at Big Cypress.
We had to get some alligator wrangler to pull an 11-foot alligator out of the backstage area. That was interesting. That was a big alligator.
We'll refill the swamp and revisit a legendary independent festival that came to transform the music industry despite being ignored by the mainstream. Phish found someplace better and left behind a map to Big Cypress. After Midnight debuts November 14th on all podcast platforms. Visit osirispod.com/aftermidnight to subscribe today.
If you're out there on the highways, if you're within the sound of our voice, you're near to Big Cypress, Florida.
What is a city without its music?
The legacy of the New York Philharmonic is incredible.
Nearly 2 centuries of history. That's a lot of music and a lot of stories.
I was sitting on stage for the very first time thinking, I can't quite believe this is happening.
Join me, Jamie Bernstein, as we explore the history of the New York Philharmonic. It's the NY Phil story made in New York, a podcast about a city, its people, and their orchestra. Listen wherever you get podcasts.
All right, cool. Pretty awesome. The other podcast that's coming out, and this is rad. I haven't told you guys about this. It's called Jam Just Happened. It's the first show of its kind. It's going to bring together the intimacy of a podcast and the uniqueness of a live music experience. The first live performance is Friday, December 6th at New Blue, New York City, featuring guitarist Scott Metzger, drummer Adam Chase, keyboard player Aaron Magner, and bass player Jay White. The musicians will bring each of their individual styles together to create something entirely unique for a small audience. And then a podcast companion will be released after the show, presented by Osiris Media and Nugs.net, emceed by Tom Marshall. Check that out.
Wow.
So
very cool.
That's going to happen every month. There's going to be like a different musicians that get together somewhere and jam and do a podcast.
And then talk about it.
And then it's going to be released. Yeah.
Wow.
So check that out.
That.
So you can go to osirispod.com/jam to buy tickets and see more info about the show. So check that out. That's pretty badass, you guys. That's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll get to hang out at one of those coming up here someday soon. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say them all.
All right. You made it. You're here. Crack your knuckles. Get your comb your hair.
Snap your neck.
Get your neck nice and loose.
I don't have hair.
Make sure your earbuds are in
There you go.
or out. 10 and 2 on the wheel if you're driving. If you're at work, don't let anybody know you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
Or do.
Keep it
You may
secret.
not
Or,
like
or
your
tell
job.
everybody that you're listening. To
Yeah,
this.
you may
Actually,
not
do
like your
that.
job.
Tell
What do
everyone
I
about
know?
No Simple Road.
Yeah, put it on a loudspeaker and get yelled at. By
Shout
your
it from
boss.
the rooftops.
So, without further ado, the No Simple Road crew gives you Colin Frangicetto.
Thank you, Colin. Helped bring your art out.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, whether you say it or not. And same thing with her. Whatever she's working on, like you helped her figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
And so that counterpart is very interesting to me because you can learn a lot about knowing about the partner and learning their partner. You
Absolutely.
know what I mean?
I totally
It's
agree.
plus fucking relationships are bomb, man. If you're in love, fuck, celebrate
good
that
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
Like we just had this amazing wedding. And what?
We're sitting here with Colin
Hi.
Frangicetto.
We are recording.
Hey.
Hi.
How's it going, man? Okay, go ahead,
It's going
Mel.
awesome.
Well, what? Then it'll go to Ryder, then it'll go to you, then you can introduce yourself. I was just going to say that love is really big in my scope and in my vista personally right now because, well, I'm in it. I'm in love. But my daughter just got married, and people were coming up to us saying they felt the love there. They felt it. And it wasn't just to me. We have Ryder, we have Apple, we have Aaron, and then of course my daughter and my mom. So all the people in the house that like the elders, if you will, all their friends were coming up, and the parents. Gosh, this is so beautiful. What a magical night. And that's fucking important in your creative process.
Yeah.
So, Colin, who are you? Where are you from? And how did love dive you into the deeper depths of the creative process?
Oh,
wow.
Boom!
Wow.
Right off the bat.
Well, you guys can just sit back and I'll just talk for the next 2 hours.
Gotcha. That's our favorite kind of interview.
Yeah, that's what we're here for, baby.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really
yeah,
good,
also super good weed.
Yeah,
Thank
fantastic.
you,
I'm gonna just I'll pass that thank you on over to Sarah because I feel like
Thank you, Sarah.
she did more of the work.
Sarah.
Yeah, she did more of the work. We both were like singing to the plants, and
Aww.
she named them Thelma and Louise. And I think,
this is kick-ass weed
yeah,
then.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting though. It does feel like it has its own. It lets you make it into whatever you want, which is I don't know if that's some kind of property of growing it or having a connection to it, or maybe it's just that it's not cured. I don't know.
We've actually had that experience ourselves growing with.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, weed saved our marriage.
Yep.
Like straight
100%.
up. Straight up. Aaron and I were on the
We were
verge of
done.
breaking up. I was going to leave my husband, and weed saved our marriage.
We went.
How long ago was that?
2008.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was 11 years ago.
We went
Yep.
to a head shop because
Straight
I
up.
was growing at the time and not even really smoking. I was just growing for a hobby. And we had taken down the plant and we were like, okay, we're going to smoke some of it. But we didn't even have a pipe.
Well, that's not exactly how it went, but
well,
yeah.
We for brevity's sake.
I mean,
for brevity's sake. And so we go to this head shop and there's an Indian guy that's working there, and there's a Ganesh pipe in the case. And he ends up telling us this whole story about Ganesh, how Ganesh is the remover of obstacles and blah, blah, blah. We bought the pipe, and lo and behold, boom.
And that crop was called dickweed. Yep.
I've actually heard stories from you guys about
The
dickweed.
mythical
I didn't
dickweed.
know it.
That is, in my
saved your
opinion,
marriage.
the best weed I have ever smoked in my life. And I live with Apple, so I've smoked a lot of fucking weed.
A lot of really good weed.
But that dickweed, it saved a marriage. So nothing other has ever been stronger than that.
Okay.
Wait.
Anyway, back to Colin.
real quick.
What?
My settings are weird and I sound metallic because I'm on Apple settings. No.
Yeah.
Just deal with
Yeah.
it.
Okay. I just wanted to point it out
Sorry.
at least. No, that's fine.
Just
All
let
right.
it, let it
Yeah.
happen, Ryder. Just let it wash.
Sorry,
over you.
Colin. Back to you.
Back to love
Back
and
to
your
you and
creative
Sarah
process.
and who you are and all that business.
Sure. Well, I grew up on the East Coast, and I was
East Coast love.
Yeah, Philly, and spent most of my, adolescent time there. Spent some time in New York.
What's it like growing up in Philly? Like, what's an adolescent do? Like, what kind of influence do they have?
There's everything there. It's a really great place to grow up. Actually, I think I did sort of all the normal stuff when I was really young. Did like the Little League sports and then all that stuff. But I got into music pretty young. Probably started playing music with friends at like 7th grade. So
Perfect.
Guitar then too.
That's perfect.
Guitar and but I didn't really know what I was doing. I was actually more like making up chords, as I would tell my dad.
That's
He'd be like, that's not a real chord, And I'd be like,
yeah, but it sounds
making
good.
it up.
It is now.
I'd be like, I know.
It's punk rock, Dad.
So yeah, it started that started grabbing my attention pretty young. And I'd say like Philly is just an awesome spot for music. Probably around like 14 or so. I started like, basically taking the train downtown to see concerts like almost every weeknight.
And your parents were cool with that?
They did. They were cool with this.
Wow.
They basically said, as long as you keep doing good in school, then we don't care.
That's fair.
And what were they listening to?
All kinds of stuff. My dad definitely. I mean, he showed me the coolest shit the earliest, for sure. Whether it sunk in right away, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes that stuff takes time to germinate.
Yeah. That's a seed.
Yeah.
That's not a flower.
So his all-time favorite is Neil Young, and
that's Darwin's favorite.
That is Darwin's favorite.
Nice. Amazing. Well,
shout out, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks, Dad. So yeah, and Zeppelin and pretty much everything. I mean, all the good stuff he was showing me when I was really young. And yeah, so just being a kid and going to shows constantly, I saw so much good stuff.
Does anything stick out? Like one that you saw?
I mean,
was like,
so
what?
much, but I mean, I really just think about this year or so that I spent going to the Trocadero and the TLA, and the one show that always sticks out to me is seeing I saw Jeff Buckley open for Juliana Hatfield, and I was fucking 14, and it just like Buckley just totally blew me away because I had never heard anything like that before, and I was sort of going through a stuck up kind of like I only like punk and weird indie shit at the time, and then Jeff Buckley gets up on stage and like has this ridiculous beautiful falsetto, and his music is just so musical. Like I mean it's not really punk, and it's definitely, I don't know, it was just a total surprise. And
Isn't that great, getting turned on to something you didn't even expect?
Oh yeah.
What a great feeling.
And I realized I could sing at the time. I had a pretty good falsetto. I connected to it right away. So I started singing that shit all the time at home, and it totally, I think, changed me on like a cellular level. Like,
whoa.
How so?
I just think it put me in a different state of mind. Like,
changed the vibratory pattern.
Yeah. Like I went from being this person that I think desperately, well, you know what, this all like interlinks with when I dropped acid for the first time.
I was about to ask about that. I was going to ask, is this a natural like feeling that you're having as a young boy, or is this influenced?
I think it's both.
Okay.
But definitely I think brought on by the LSD. I just noticed that I went through this shift where I desperately wanted to be accepted, to then all of a sudden, like, I just didn't care at all. In fact, I no longer wanted to be accepted. I just wanted to accept, like that was basically where I was at. And
a mindset totally blown.
Yeah. At like
wow.
a little fucking kid, you know what I mean? I think about myself at 14 and just being like, aw, like little dude, like, wow. Like that's
cool that you do that, man.
Yeah.
I that's a good practice to have, and have some like gentleness with your younger self, and like play with it almost like you were doing a good job.
I never thought about that like that before, because I kind of had similar experience to that. And I walked into that show, this angsty, angry, kind of sad kid, and left different than that after that experience. And it was LSD, like 100%.
Yeah.
It changes you. It changed me on, like you said, cellular level. But I don't think at the time, like, I was conscious of it. I think I was, I mean, it happened.
You were probably subconscious of it.
Yeah.
At something of it.
I mean, I knew enough that I didn't ever want to leave it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I just think about that time, and I think about singing Jeff Buckley, on my own in my room.
Cool.
And I think about how it sort of put me in this romantic state of mind where like I was totally in love at the time too, and like couldn't be with the person. So it just created this complete like almost persona I could fall into, which felt like my natural persona as well. So it was a good feeling.
Falling into yourself.
Yeah, all this stuff was really good. I mean, not that time wasn't also really heavy and strange. I think like, I don't know. I definitely feel like, the strange is very important to note as well.
Why?
Yeah, strange how?
Or like, how was the feeling of it at least?
Well, you know what I'll say is that I don't know how much of it, kind of like what you were saying, how much of it I was registering on a conscious level.
Yeah.
But I can say now that any time, the feeling I had after those experiences would be the same feeling I have now when there's a super big shift in reality, like someone dies, someone is born, real shit happens. You get divorced, like big shit happens, and your reality shifts, and it's no longer the same thing, and you feel this sort of stripped away filter kind of feeling. And almost like your brain for a while had stopped scanning for new information because it knew what was already there, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, there's new data to take in. Everything's different. Certain data is missing and all this stuff.
And you can
like learning a new skill, and when you feel like you finally catch on, like, oh shit, I didn't know this much stuff.
Right.
But now I know it and I feel comfortable in it.
But what it brings up, like for me when he said that, is I know that when those things happen, it's almost like a vacuum feeling in a certain kind of a way, like because my mind has used those pathways and programs so much, and now they don't fit anymore. So you're like running a program that doesn't work, and it can feel like things are empty. Do you know what I'm saying? Until the new stuff kicks in.
I do know exactly what you're saying, and I think that this is probably what pushes me towards not being a Buddhist per se, but towards Eastern thought. Kind of the idea that emptiness is actually truth, and that the void is, there is some type of universal truth to be known in that nothingness and the emptiness, because it occurs to me that feelings like being nostalgic, or I wrote a thing about this the other day, like feeling nostalgic for a time you never had, missing someone you've never met, and dreaming of a place that you've never been to before. All these things. And somebody responded and they were like, oh, that sounds like this concept in my language. And basically, I think it's Suradad, and it means the presence of absence. And that just like totally fits for all of these things that we're talking about. Like, so yeah, I think that's all stuff that really defined me at a young age, and then eventually
that's heavy shit for a young boy, a young teen.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Were your parents on to any of this stuff?
What I was doing?
Not just like the changes that were occurring. Like, were they current with you?
I don't know,
Like, because I just mean, like, how did they respond to you during this time? Because if you're like transitioning.
You know what's something that's really cool that I think about that time, and actually about that first time?
Okay.
I remember tripping past peak, but I was still definitely tripping pretty hard, and I was sitting on the couch with my dad, and he had no idea that I had taken LSD. I mean, he might have suspected something was up. He definitely knew I was smoking weed and stuff at the time. But yeah, I just had this really profound experience sitting there on the couch, where he and I started changing shapes, and basically he would shrink, and then I would grow. And then I would shrink, and then he would grow, and then when he would shrink, I would start to think about how he looked like a baby, and then I started thinking, oh, now it's now it's his time to be the baby. And then I was thinking in my head, like, now he's the baby. Now I'm the baby. Now he's the baby. Wow. And then it just sort of like dawned on me that it was like I was seeing the cycle of life sort of play out in this weird metaphor in front of me, this visual metaphor. Yeah. And so it's just funny that, I mean, it had to play some role in my relationship with them to have these kind of experiences.
Did it make you feel closer to him?
Yeah, well, it totally made me realize, like, oh, right, like, you took care of me, and then at some point I'm going to need to take care of you probably. And again, like, crazy shit to be sort of experiencing at 14.
Yeah, this is like life lessons, like deep interior life lessons.
Colin got the bomb dropped on him.
Wow.
14. Yeah.
Little turkey over there.
But you know what kind of overshadowed the heaviness of it was just how insanely interesting it was. And I was so intrigued by it.
Yeah.
And how
intrigued
it's hard
by
not to be.
By the strangeness?
Intrigued by how I was getting to see what my thoughts looked like. You know what I mean?
Because you're a visual guy.
Yeah. So I was getting to see how, well, yeah. You know how like you just have you have psychedelic experiences where you just start to realize like the complexity of language and and just the complexity of communication on a level that is just sort of like paralyzing almost.
I've gotten stuck in that where I seriously couldn't speak for like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
Where verbal communication was so ludicrous. Like, why would you make noise with your mouth to tell somebody? It didn't make sense. And then when the peak started going away, it wouldn't connect anymore. I was like, I fucking broke myself. Like, but I think that's exactly what you're talking about, the absurdity of it, and like it's so hard to get it across.
Well, it showed me, you know, of course, all that stuff, but also it was intriguing because it was like, oh, I'm seeing how much you can do with metaphor and how because that's what I got from those first couple experiences was this realization of how many levels you can communicate on simultaneously.
Right.
And I think that really bled up over into how I wanted to express myself so artistically, and it just totally I think just blew the doors off any type of disbelief I had that you couldn't kind of create your own reality, you know? And
wow.
That's where I started playing with that kind of shit. You know?
At 14.
I think so, yeah.
Damn.
It's
pretty soon. I wish I would have had the presence of mind to pull it together. Like, I did not at all.
Well, I wouldn't say I actually pulled it together, but I had at least some of these
sort of a lot of good information.
Yeah. You know, well, it also sounds a lot better in hindsight, you know.
Yeah, everything always does.
Believe me, I understand. I understand. But the fact that you can articulate it like that means that there's a real connection to it still.
Yeah.
And that's pretty amazing because it stays fresh, yet it's not a present occurrence.
Yeah. Have you ever like thought about a really formative moment in your life and then tried to like really take a chord, like a golden chord, like all the way back to that moment in time and just follow it all the way, right? Yeah, that's just that's what I feel like is the power of all that stuff, is looking back at it. I mean, I don't know, there's just so much like white noise in our lives, stuff that just floats by and it's not there anymore, and then you're like your memory is basically just like this, it's on this weird scaffolding that's sort of floating in the air and it's not connected to anything below.
Yeah.
You're like, how the fuck did I get here? I only have these certain memories of, you know, I guess that's my story or whatever, but yeah,
that's that right there is the thing that makes me feel like I'm in the Matrix.
Yeah.
That is that exact thing. Like, because my memories of my life are not linear. It's this hodgepodge juxtaposition of things.
And you can only remember them one at a time or a few at a time.
Yeah.
Like there are, like we have 22 years of stuff that we've been through, great and horrible, but you can only remember them as a memory pulls it.
Well, and a lot
it's
of
not
it
always right in the front.
A lot of it seems like it happened to somebody else too.
Like you're telling a story about Aaron and Melanie, not that you were Aaron and I was Melanie.
Because
it feels like that.
Because you come so far.
Isn't this sort of part of like depersonalization? I think that's the concept of depersonalization.
No, I didn't know that's what that was.
I think it is, which is something that's actually a pretty common side effect from psychedelic use. It can happen where you just have a period of time where you're constantly looking at yourself from an outside perspective.
I feel like that all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like that literally all the time. And
it's pretty common for me too.
And that's one of the reasons why I don't get offended about things. That's one of the reasons why I can just always have enough energy to do what I need to do. Like, I don't care if I'm hurting or tired or anything. Like, those things are not in my forefront ever. It's just this needs to happen. So I really have gotten great at, I guess, what they call disassociation. To
just get yourself out of your body.
I'm just doing it, and I know that I'm doing it. I know, I'm aware.
Well, something I've noticed since doing DMT is there's a time isn't the same anymore after that, and there's this weird space in between thought and action where I have a moment in here to play out scenarios before I speak or say things that I didn't have that before. That's a new thing.
In Kundalini yoga, that's what mantra was about.
That makes sense. And the other thing that I've noticed too is that you're talking about seeing yourself from outside. It's happening now in the moment. So where before you say something and then afterwards you're like, oh God, I shouldn't have said that. As it's happening, you're like, I shouldn't be saying this. Or you see yourself act a certain way and you embarrass yourself, like, or you're like, I nailed it that time. Like, it's not always negative, but in the moment you're seeing yourself through your own eyes in a weird.
Yeah, you're watching the watcher.
Yeah.
At least you're trying to. Yeah.
It's I think that being a visual person, it's really important to have that outlet, to be able to get that out, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm not doing that, it builds up this gunk on the inside, and I have to put it out somehow, and it will come out negative if I don't.
Like a creative outlet?
Yeah. Something. There's gotta be something.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is just alchemy, you know?
Yeah.
You're just taking something and then transforming it into something else.
Yes.
So has your journey been consistent since 14?
Fuck no.
Perfect ducks all in a row.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's been everything, you know. It's a lot like, like I just got back from Peru and did a bunch of ayahuasca ceremonies, and people ask you like, how was it? And I'm just like, I feel like this is where I can actually at least have one thing in common with a mother who's just given birth. It's like, I don't know how to explain it to you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to say it's all good, and I'm not going to say it's all bad. It was amazing. And then it was also like the closest thing to hell I've ever experienced. So it's both things. It was everything.
Wow.
All things, you know.
How many ceremonies and how many days?
5 ceremonies, 7 days. But, one of those was night 5, and I just did a teaspoon. I just did an integration dose, but the others were pretty fucking. There's something.
Was that the first time going down there to do that?
Yeah.
So
what's Peru like?
Yeah.
Oh, I could not sum up Peru because I only saw Lima from the airport, and then I only saw Iquitos for 2 days, and then the other days were just in a jungle.
Okay.
Well, how was the jungle?
Incredible.
That's what I'm more.
It was
interested
incredible, man. It was.
Aw.
I mean, at least where we were, the place that we stayed, the compound was just. It was cool as hell, and yeah, you totally do sort of fall in love with it and get addicted to the sounds and the way it feels there.
To be surrounded by that much nature and
Life.
and it's not, it hasn't been adulterated yet or at all. It's the way the earth is supposed to be, you know, and it's thriving and alive and hasn't been put in a container.
I would imagine it's like a lot to handle in that headspace.
I think
it actually really supports it.
Okay.
I'd say. If you're going inside, can I have a water?
Yeah.
You're the best psychic. Yeah, no, it totally supports it. I think it does. It can make it at least parts of it more intense, but I think the fact that it is this thing that's so outside of your element and just so different, it already puts you. You already have a shift happening before you're even in the medicine. So, and I would say the process of preparing for it too is a completely. That's a total dimensional shift as well.
Are you fasting or eating a certain diet or?
Yeah, I did the diet, which is kind of complex compared to, like it's not cut and dry.
Right.
A lot of places say different things, and this place was pretty laxed, and I, for whatever reason, still felt compelled to go a little bit further than what they asked of me, and so I was just doing I'm already vegan, so that was easy. The meat part of it was easy. And then the other stuff was a little more difficult, like the no salt, no sugar, no spices. Basically just having very bland food for, 1 to 2 weeks beforehand. And then while you're there. But I will say the food they had there was fucking great.
Amazing.
Yeah, the chef there was sick. But yeah, I mean, again, I got addicted to that too. The meals were so simple and
what
provided.
Like, what?
Ryder's like, what?
I really want to know. I do.
What you ate down there, man?
Well, okay, so when I was preparing, when I was just doing it myself, I would cook some potatoes, rice, beans, a little bit of broccoli, a little bit of like green pepper, and that was it. And then I would just eat that, like with nothing on it, right? Just that straight up,
plain boiled vegetables.
That would basically be my one meal. Like I would fast during the day, which they don't ask of you at all, but it just made it easier for me because, goddamn, like cooking just takes a lot of time. Yeah. No. So I just wanted to have one big meal, and it just made it really simple. And I think it already started creating this sort of wave of gratitude, for fucking awesome spicy food, for everything that just lights up your taste buds. Instantly that was something I was purging, I hadn't even taken medicine yet at all. And then
gratitude is a huge gift.
Oh yeah.
That when you learn how to appreciate things and see things in a manner of appreciation instead of not enough, it changes your whole life. You don't need nothing else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Talk about visual. When you have gratitude, your visual, like, it's like a visual orgasm, I think. For real. Like, it just is like, I didn't know I can see things so beautifully or so differently or so whatever.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think where I was like what I was getting out of that lead up was just over and over again, gratitude for the stuff that I was sort of putting on pause and sacrificing for this experience. And it's funny how your mind will resist something even as short as 3 weeks of doing this. It reacts in this way that it's like, oh my God, you're asking me to give this up for the rest of my life. That's sort of the way it acts. But obviously that's not what you're doing. But yeah, so there's this huge wave. There's this huge journey of just purging that stuff, letting go of your daily cannabis, your daily beer, your whatever. And by the time I was there, I already felt so shifted, and that I had already, worked through a lot of attachment stuff. I was just seeing, because I was trying to do like a mild media purge too. So I was just watching how all the things I did to basically put something in between me and actual reality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the distractions and I love the distractions. Yeah, they're the best.
Right. But we're creating one right here.
Yeah, totally. But it was awesome to sort of go into that experience, take that journey even on just like the airplanes to get over there, and feeling how already it had changed so much.
So do you think maybe that
clean
the intention of going over there and doing what you were going to do and the preparation that you made for the trip connected you energetically to the medicine before you ever even got to it?
Yes.
Because your intention was there.
I think that, and because I truly believe that time doesn't work the way that we're taught it does, or that we're sort of stuck at thinking it does. I believe in like retrocausality, and I believe in, the idea that we're getting like ripples back from future states constantly. And so
never thought of that.
So for me, I've noticed this a ton with psychedelics. So many times I will start to feel a magnetic pull, a pulse of tension, if you will. The second I decide mentally that I'm going to have an experience, even if it's a month from that, it already has started. It's already started.
The hair standing up on my arm right now. I think I've told you this before. When we decide we're going to do something, it's usually the morning of, for me. In my mind, I've always thought about it as like a letting go. The letting go starts happening.
Yeah.
And I can feel myself shifting before it ever even is hours and hours away. And reality seems disconnected, and I feel cleaner on the inside, but there's also an anxiety to it too, like that stomach churning, oh shit, what's going to happen feeling. But I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. First person I ever heard say that.
Yeah, I've started to, so I went through this weird, I went through this period of time where I had a lot of crazy sort of mind-bending synchronicities go down, and I was really, I was just in this tunnel of strangeness that was leading me to places and connecting me to people and pointing me to go to certain events, and I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff to follow these signs that I was picking up on. And I, at a certain point, started really freaking out, being because I would have a logical side that would want to explain it, and then I would have this other side that believes in magic and totally accepts it. And I think...
Isn't that the best of both worlds, to be able to understand them equally?
It is until you try and reconcile the two.
Reconcile the fact that you need one of each.
until it's time to make a decision.
I agree that like that's the sweet spot, but like that's the non-dual. If you can sit in between and know that they both can simultaneously exist. That's really hard for a lot of people that truly believe, though. They can say they believe it, but to really believe that, you have to like live that. And I think, so this whole experience really challenged me in that way. And I started really trying to think about this, like, okay, what could be the explanation here? Like, is there some like some powerful being or organization, non-human, that's controlling all this shit and like, putting all these like weird little cues and making all this stuff happen? Like somehow they're that powerful that they can do that? Or is it more likely that time just doesn't flow the way we think it does, and that these are actually a product of a future state rippling back?
Or are we part of a fabric of energy that feeds back on itself?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, like that's basically where I was at
Totally.
with it. And as soon as I really allowed that idea to sit for a minute, it sort of just pushed away all the more like really paranormal kind of like poltergeisty
There's
feelings.
aliens.
Yeah. Not that I don't believe in non-human entities, because I do, but I would say that, I don't believe that anyone can specifically manipulate the entire time, space-time continuum so that your podcast syncs up perfectly with some sign you look at. You know what I mean? I just don't think that that's what they're doing. I think that that's really a product of like non-linear time, and just that it's just something we don't quite understand scientifically yet.
That thing, whatever it is, I believe is perfect in its purest form. Like it's perfection.
Mm-hmm.
That energy is perfect. There's nothing outside of it. It is it. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so it stands to reason that perfection can give you a sign in a moment, because it's all synced.
Mm-hmm.
We're the ones that are shifted vibratorily out of that field. And in those moments you've linked up, you're tuning into the radio station, and everything makes sense for a moment, and you're like, oh shit, the aliens have told me, whatever. But
Are we ever tuned out though?
I would
there's
say
a lot
that
of distraction.
Well, if you think about it, I don't know, where I go with it is like, all right, just if you think about evolution and you think about how essentially our bodies and our minds are always doing things in the most efficient way for what we need in order to survive as a being, right? That's how our evolutionary traits usually work. So if you think about the idea that essentially like the default mode or whatever, the default mode network is this blocking, it's something that's essentially causing it's blocking out what's unnecessary to your survival, right? Okay. So a lot of the stuff that we encounter, I think, when that's put to sleep is the stuff that isn't necessary to our survival necessarily, like the reason why we don't see oxygen, for instance, you know what I mean?
Or in the UV spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it is like sort of that we are like, it's not that we're adding anything from like by putting psychedelics or having transcendental experiences, we're just taking away the filter, the blocking filter.
I've heard it explain like there's infinite amount of information around us all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take a psychedelic, the psychedelic isn't causing you to feel high. It's removing the blinders of all of that information that's always there anyway. All it's doing is making electrochemically in your brain something manifest so that you can feel, see, hear, whatever those senses are, and experience those things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think the term getting turned on comes from, is you're turned on to the wider reality. It's like, because
there's so much more depth though than that. There's no, when you're talking about psychedelics and what they can do, they're operating on so many levels, and levels is even a dumb way to put it, because that doesn't even make sense.
And we run into language.
Yeah, like it's like doing something to us physically, audibly, mentally, emotionally, like visually. It's a cellular, I mean, that's the best way that you can put it, change even in the moment. And you were mentioning reaction time earlier, babe. There was a chant, a Kundalini yoga chant, Ad Gure Name, Jugat Gure Name, Sat Gure Name, Siddhi Guru Dev Name. And you would do that before you turned on the car, before you drove, so that if you got into an accident, it would give you this, it would put you in a state of mind that would give you enough reaction time to see it coming and react before it was too late. And so I always thought about those kinds of concepts. Even if I couldn't attain it, I knew it was possible. So at the moment, I could either memory recall or pull it out of my ass, or it would be line up perfectly. Like there's always like a assurance of, if there's a possibility, then there's an assurance that I can get to it somehow.
You know, you have a unique perspective on things. I mean, we all have a unique perspective on things, but being in the band that you're in, you're able to see a cross-section of humanity that most of us aren't able to see. And you're exposed to huge amounts of energy at once when you're at a show. And it's directed to you. Whereas when I'm at a show, it's the opposite. I'm participating in the thing that's happening. It's not being directed at me per se, right? And I wonder, like, after having the experience that you just had and all the stuff that's happened with you personally, do you feel like you're seeing something happening with humanity through your perspective?
That's a good question. You know, it's hard for me to say, because people are all so different, yet they're all also the same, you know? I know that's a cliche, but it's true. So I find that the more I'm ever tempted to generalize, the quicker I seem like a fool. So I'm kind of in this place where I do get these, I do get these notions that, that there is like a change happening. But I will say that, I don't know, I'm a little more, I guess, undecided as to what it is, because I think I'm just going to be honest. I mean, there are some days that I just get this notion that we are in a cycle, and that unfortunately I think this cycle is going to get way crazier before it gets better, and better in some kind of qualitative way, like, you know, the things that are just sort of really fucked right now, to see those things change. I think we may see the whole system sort of fall apart and have to start from scratch. That's sort of where my head goes sometimes, and I'm so hoping to be wrong. You know,
I'm with you.
But that's what makes me feel an urgency to try to do anything about it. So that's really where I find myself. And I mean, to be honest, that place is always sort of like, is it even worth it to do anything at this point? And then the other part is, hell yeah, I have to do everything I can.
Well, you are doing something about it. You
it's a
just
duality
went to
again.
Peru. You just took the medicine. You went to Peru. That is doing something about it, because if you think about what we were just talking about, there's this one vibratory field that we're all a part of. And if one piece of that fabric is changing, it's changing all of it, right?
I hope so. You know,
it's got to be, man.
I think that, so this is something I thought about a lot, because, you know, I mean, there's even dark aspects of just ayahuasca tourism, you know, and going to do that, you become a part of this very complicated, somewhat dark, like industry. And so it's weird. Even that has a shadow side. Everything has this shadow side. And I think what I've come to and what a lot of really wise people told me was that, yes, like it's not fucking sustainable for everyone to get on a plane and go to Peru and drink the medicine. And there's not even enough ayahuasca, to sustain enough people.
If everybody could do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, for those who do truly feel called to it and go do it, it kind of becomes incumbent upon you to become the medicine.
Now you
for
have a
others.
responsibility because you've taken it with you.
Yeah, you become the medicine for others, and
how so?
Basically, it's just like anything else. Like, I think this is a Ram Dass quote, but some really brilliant person said this, and they were basically like, "Look, your family doesn't want to hear about Buddhism or Christianity and how much you know about it. They want you to be the Buddha. They want you to be the Christ." And that's basically just saying, like, you have to just fucking walk the walk and be what these things make you like into, and you can't force what you think is the right way. You can never force that upon someone else. You just have to show how you have to live and show how it affects you and how it's healed you.
There's in Christianity, they say, preach the gospel and use words when necessary.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Totally.
It's true though.
Yeah, no,
there's
absolutely.
nothing you can't say with your actions.
Mm-hmm.
But look, you've been around enough to know that there's plenty of people out there that aren't doing that.
Yeah, of course, baby.
It's a thing. Like,
like how I deal with stuff like that is I just don't get caught up in it.
But
it's like a web that kind of like, pulls on your shirt a little bit. Like, I'm going to just wipe it off. I'm not going to get all tangled in it. Yeah, I'm not doing it.
What don't you get caught up in?
Yeah, what exactly?
I guess like, I'm not going to use a broad term like drama, but like there's
oh no, I get that.
Things that are unfortunate to know, or I don't. If something is brought to me personally, I will always deal with things one-on-one because that's just the kind of person I am. Mm-hmm. I love to look in people's eyes and talk to them and like get a feel for them, like truly. And I enjoy that. I feel like by doing that, I'm building up another solid connection.
Yeah.
So when somebody leaves wherever I'm from, they feel like at least elevated.
That's being the medicine.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. And
you reminded me of a memory I had a long time ago when you came into the door.
Whoa.
Before you talked about Peru.
Whoa.
Let's hear it.
I remembered I had a dream shortly after I saw that movie, Eat, Pray, Love. And I
love you, man.
What?
I fucking just keep going. You're awesome.
But I had in real life, I had a dream shortly after I saw that movie that I was like, my hair was super wild, like that little old lady on the Crude or that cartoon.
Oh,
the Grudes.
Crudes?
Yeah. That little medicine woman.
Yeah.
Like my hair was like really wild, and I was like that man in that movie, like that she came to see, and people were like knocking on my door, and like it was a tiny little door inside of a tree, like a huge tree. And it was like kind of lit up with like,
dope.
Yeah, well, it was like, it was an imprint. It was an imprint. And so the lighting of it was like when the sun is going down and like the Hobbit, like,
yeah,
so like people are coming into this, and then they're just like kind of laying before me, and like, we're just like the door closes. We're just in there in this like.
And when Colin got to the house,
it reminded me of that imprint of that dream.
Wow.
The person going into the door.
Well, but then you started talking about Peru, and this week it's kind of been a weird week about just my other stuff that's going on, like the business side of myself that I don't, like my other business.
Yep.
That.
Yeah,
Thank you, Colin. I don't know. Just remind me of
that. You're welcome.
I don't know what. It just made me feel good. I don't know what I'm going to do with that information. I don't know why I needed to say that, but it did.
I will say this, man. Like, there's certain people that come over here. I would say on the regular when folks come over for the
people.
podcast, it feels to me like a long lost friend.
It's like a magnet.
Somebody I haven't seen in a long, like, fuck, thank God you're home, man.
Totally.
But then on the other side of that, there's people that come over that shift the energy of the house.
Yes.
And you're one of those people.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
For real, man. Like,
in a good way.
In a really, really good way.
Oh,
like,
awesome.
It's tangible. So it's just affirmation.
That's beautiful.
That it came back with you.
No, I appreciate it.
Because you raise the level of things here.
For sure.
And it feels
beautiful.
really good.
Well,
it feels like the light on those trees right behind us.
Yep.
That's what it feels like.
Whoa, that good?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
For real,
look
man.
at that.
Absolutely.
See that?
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That's a super high compliment.
Just with your
thank
presence.
You. I get the same from you guys. So
oh, cool.
It's all good. It's a two-way street.
When you come back, right? So you've been in the jungle doing the thing, and then you got to get on the plane at the airport and go through security. How is that reintegrating back into your life with Sarah and the band and your art and like bringing it home?
Well,
because that's been hard for me in the past.
Sure. Yeah. No. I think.
We also have extra jackets if you want a jacket.
I have a jacket.
Okay, cool.
I could grab, but I think I'm all right now.
Cool.
Okay.
I was getting scared for a second. I was like, I might need to get
I know. I saw you wrapping your hands up in your scarf. And I was like,
it worked out pretty good though.
Okay,
I feel pretty warm now. But I think I got lucky in that I just have so much experience. My whole fucking life for the last 16 plus years has been one integration after the next, and I'd say mostly from touring, just touring.
So you're good at it.
Touring in itself is psychedelic. I mean, it totally puts you out of your own headspace, and it's that thing we were talking about earlier. Your brain is constantly scanning again. It's scanning for new information every day because everything is different everywhere you go. So you're never kind of hitting this weird baseline reality.
No stasis.
Yeah, exactly. No stasis. So then, flying home from tour always was jolting,
So that was the weird thing.
That is the weird thing.
But he's got tons of practice.
Yeah. So the ayahuasca integration was very similar, except for I started feeling like I had this profound sense of gratitude for like the life that I've built, because it really, it totally welcomed me back with like loving arms when I came back from the jungle. It wasn't this, I felt like, damn, like I have a good life. Like I've made some really good decisions and I've sacrificed the right things, to get to where I'm at and to just live the life that I want to live. Not that I'm, I don't need much. So feeling that feeling of like, man, I love what I have and I'm so lucky for that. It's a totally just amazing thing to feel, and I wish all the trips home from tour felt like that. They don't always, but that one really was, I kind of, Sarah and I have built this nice little psychedelic life for ourselves, and I think, having a psychedelic life, being a psychedelic person, it is sort of separate from taking psychedelics. You don't have to take psychedelics to have those things, to live a psychedelic life. And I think a lot of that's the messaging I get after having deep medicine experiences, is to remember that, for me at least, those things are just always this like tuning process and
level sets.
Yeah. And then it's about doing the thing, and and loving it, and that's what I really want to be. That's where I want to be all the time, is like just feeling gratitude and loving where I'm at, and just, I don't know. I don't really know if we get to do this again. I mean, maybe we do. That'd be sweat.
But maybe we don't.
Yeah, I get the sense often that we do in some way, but I'm not banking on it.
Well, and the way I think about it is like, even if we do, I don't.
Right. Exactly.
I'm the only one of me.
I that's here now.
Yeah, this one. That's the only one I got.
Yep.
You know, it brings. You made me think of a post I did on Instagram the other day. It's silly, but it was like this hippie dude, and he's like. Oh,
I read that. Yeah.
It made me think of that. Like, if you get the message, hang up the phone. And I when I heard that the first few times, it like made me feel guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh shit, did I miss the message, or why didn't I hang up the phone? And, you know, like, but that thought of like, no, man, the message changes. It's different than it was when I was 20. It's really different than it was when I was 30.
Mm-hmm.
And it's different than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That message changes every fucking time. Now, the not the set and setting, but the basis of it is there's a common thread through all of it, but it's built on itself over the years.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you said, you saying that just impresses upon me the importance of knowing and talking to other people that are living that kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can feel isolated.
Oh yeah.
In your trip,
mm-hmm.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because her and I
you start to doubt it.
Yeah, and her and I have had conversations in the past year where it's like, okay, you know, we've made this commitment that we're going to see how far the rabbit hole goes. Like, we're doing this. This is the thing. We're doing the thing. But who do you talk to besides each other?
Yeah.
And to hear somebody else have similar experience, it's like, whew, okay. Yeah, okay.
Or to be able to put it in such a way that maybe you've thought of saying it, but you didn't know how to say it.
Sure.
So like you're hearing it outside of yourself, and it's not only a confirmation, but a breath of fresh air. Like, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
This is recent that you went down?
Yeah, I've been back for almost. It's been a little over. It'll be 2 months and a couple days.
Okay.
Have you guys played a show since then?
No, I haven't even seen my bandmates.
Oh wow! Shit. Okay.
Yeah. But we all keep in touch really well. And yeah, one of my friends, I hung out with them like maybe a week before I went, and then saw them a week after I got back. And she was just like, yeah, she's like, I mean, don't think this the wrong way at all, but like, you're still totally you.
And I was like, yeah.
People
have this weird misconception you're going to come home like floating.
I think even
mastered
you
the
do
universe.
as well, you know, in some way
that's
you're
true.
going there. And I will say to some degree, I was looking at a video of myself in the hotel room when I landed there. And it was the night before the first ceremony, and I was just talking to the camera and telling this synchronicity story, and then I was just watching it and be like, "Damn, that dude's dead." You know what I mean? Like,
that's a weird feeling. Dude.
Yeah. But
Just
I kind of
2
loved
days
it.
prior.
Yeah, and
I know it.
It was a great feeling.
I had a. I think it was
every picture in the house makes me feel like that.
Yeah.
Every single one. I'm like,
fuck. Years ago, I threw myself my own funeral. I was actually teaching Kundalini yoga it'd been like a year, and I had built up a small,
it was right
sweet,
before we left, right?
Yeah. Group of students that were like my family, and they taught me how to teach. And I was coming to a point where I was feeling really like a transformation, like an evolution of the self, and like everything that I was up there doing awesome, but wasn't me anymore. Like there was more than that. It was that plus more. And I just didn't know how to continue doing that anymore. Like it didn't make sense. Like, well, all of a sudden I don't know how to dance without my partner or something. And so for my birthday, I told everybody to come dressed in like their, why are you laughing?
You're rad. Go ahead.
Their favorite color of the rainbow. And it's just the same colors as the chakras. And so when I came in, I had my mom's funeral dress that she made for when she dies. She made it like years ago in Fashion Design Institute. Yeah, when it was a strange thing. It fit me like a glove.
That's weird. I didn't know that.
Susie's weird.
That's fucking weird.
Now
That's
I know
weird.
where it comes from.
Yeah.
As you talk,
She still has it till this day.
you asked why I laughed.
Yeah.
I married the perfect person for me. I love hearing you talk. Just please go, man.
Well, okay, so I had this dress on, and then it was basically everybody around me do a eulogy. And at the end, I just kind of spoke on my behalf and thanked everybody. Like it was like if the person that was dead could say thank you for the people that were there. I mean, if you could just say one last thing, final words. Thank you guys for coming, or like, this is what you did for me. While my relationship with you, this is how I felt about you. And I love doing, I created a practice where we do the conch. It's the conch, yes, but it's the conch. And it just is such a great thing to be able to tell people how you feel about them, how they've helped you, what they mean to you, while they're there.
Yeah.
When can you get another chance? You don't know. You don't know when it can be.
It's true.
Car accidents, freaking moving on, circumstances, whatever. A month turns into a year like that. And I never got to tell you, like, thank you for coming over and having this awesome conversation. It was super cool. I saw you, I felt you, whatever. And then that memory, every time you go back on it, can be your medicine. Like, fuck, I know I can connect with people because that happened, or I know that shit's real, or communication through the mind is real because of that. Like,
but isn't that experience that you're talking about, that dude's dead? I had a similar experience, but I didn't have the new guy there waiting. Do you know what I'm saying? It was I guess they call it the dark night of the soul. That's one way I've heard it explained.
Sure.
It's like clothes in the closet don't look like they're mine anymore, and the music that I listen to doesn't do it anymore. It's not the same, and the food is different, and you feel like you're a stranger in your own body. Kind of thing. And
that's that depersonalization thing again.
Yeah,
man. That's what that is.
number 2
for sure.
Yeah.
How have you heard of it before? Like,
because I experienced it a bunch throughout the years, and like especially younger, more like heavy LSD use. Like when I was younger, it would happen. Yeah, I would just have these periods of time, but eventually the pieces come back.
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know?
Different.
But those periods of time really, I mean, they can get sort of hairy, but they're crazy for growth. I mean,
formative.
Yeah.
And then being able to like, it just magically integrating the person you were into the person that you figured out how to be in that absence, just melding itself together is really fucking cool.
Well, yeah, and that whole thing, like, we weren't even doing psychedelics at that time. Like, I was sober, but I had gone through some initiation process, and the last initiation that I went through was annihilation. And
what was that like?
That was this time.
That was of 2008.
Yes. It was everything. So I had gone through 6 years of initiation in this thing, and other people in the order had said, like, oh, I had the most amazing first degree experience. I had the most amazing, and I had gone through the stuff too, and it was just like, meh, it was cool, whatever. And I'm like doubting the efficacy of it and whatever, and then got to that, And the day after, everything exploded.
Whoa.
Life fell apart. Everything that was familiar was gone. All that shit I just explained to you, I was
complete mental shift.
Well, and you can't go through that in a marriage and not have the other person going through that.
Yeah, it was simultaneous.
There was huge, like, yin and yang on the opposite. While that's happening, I'm going away for 28 days to an ashram to go balls out on Kundalini yoga.
Wow.
Waking up at 3 a.m. to cold showers and doing 2.5 hour standing fucking warrior pose mantra meditations. Like,
Whoa.
It was intense. It was transformative, and it was also disassociative.
Of course, yeah.
It felt like somebody was like it was just operating my body, you know. Now I look on that time and I'm like, it was a fucking weird time in my life.
Feels like peeling a potato.
Yeah. Like, oh shit, what's underneath this?
Totally.
Or like a sweet potato, you get orange skin, like, whoa.
What the fuck? But
where'd my skin go?
When I look back on that stuff though now, it's like my favorite uncomfortable memory. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
I'm so grateful for that, because I would never be sitting here talking to you. I wouldn't be in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was this huge catalyst. And when you talked about going down to take the medicine, like, my first thing that comes in my head to ask you is like, were you scared?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course you were fucking terrified. Like, why, I can't even, I would be in knots. Like,
it was weird. I was shifting it a lot, and I had so much prep time, and I committed to it probably 9 months out, right? So we picked our dates, and I started going. I was already in therapy, but I started going to another therapist who was like a underground psychedelic therapist, and
I got that name from
I was doing integration work. Yeah. So this person, the way they work is that they believe that most of integration starts with preparation, and that doing a lot of kind of various forms of therapy before going into these experiences, especially the really intense ones, can be all the difference. And I think it did really make a huge difference for me. I wound up learning a few modalities of therapy that I'd never done before. This one called IFS, which is internal family systems. It's a totally different type of therapy. It's very meditative, and it's very it has a visionary component. You're going into sort of this meditative space, and it can be with a therapist or not, but essentially you're doing parts work, which is essentially all human beings in this modality are seen as multiple, right? So you have this multiplicity inside of you, and you know how we use this language all the time. Oh, a part of me wants this, but the other part of me wants that.
Yeah.
And but this is like taking it to a whole nother level, and it's identifying when you feel triggered in your life, when you start having a conflict of, I have this behavior I don't really like. It's kind of, or I don't really know why I do it. It's compulsive, or every time this happens, I start feeling like I want to cry, etc. All these things, you can start to find these things that they call trailheads. So you have this moment of tension or whatever it is, and then you trace back where it is in your body, how it feels. Then you start basically having a dialogue with it as if it has its own autonomy, and you start asking questions.
Shit.
And all of a sudden you start getting answers back, and it's like you're basically coming in contact with your own consciousness and how it's divided into these various parts. And so yeah, a lot of us live with a lot of polarities, like and ones that we don't even recognize can be causing us tension, both emotionally but also physically too. Because that was when it really fucking blew my mind. My first IFS session was in a group setting, and I was doing it. And when I started doing this parts work, where I started internally dialoguing with this part of me, I felt a physical like release happen in my body, right? And I was like, holy shit, like this, when I got this part to relax, and I got to tell it that I appreciated it, its job and everything that it did. And there was this total like release of tension in my body. I felt like a relaxing kind of happen.
And you didn't even know it was there before.
No, I didn't even, exactly. And yeah, there was just all these instances where I was doing this work, leading up to the medicine, where I was just learning so much about myself, and a lot of just where my own, like, for lack of a better term, traumas are, where I have things that are in blind spots. And so this just prepared me for whatever could be sitting there in the dark corners to come out and get me in ayahuasca. I was sort of already going into and dealing with it.
A little housekeeping before you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it helped a lot. And, at the same time, this is that non-duality thing again. At the same time, there's no fucking preparing for ayahuasca, dude.
I can't even imagine.
It's just, especially in that type of setting, it's just crazy. It's so different and powerful and insane. And, but yeah,
it seems like that kind of experience. I mean, I've never done it, but I would imagine it's so outside of anything that you've ever done, that it goes past seeming insane and seems like, oh, this is the way things are supposed to be.
There's definitely, this sense, and I feel like, so I never really had a super transformative experience with DMT, right? This was the first time that I ever had. I had a waiting room experience way back in the day, but every time the opportunity would come up, it just wasn't right, anyway, so I never had that. So going into ayahuasca, I think a lot of the stuff that I'm taking away from it, a lot of stuff that I experienced, is similar to what people go through with DMT. It's just slowed down. And it's still really fast too. It's still crazy, but it's slowed down and extended. And from what I can tell, because like I said, I've never had a breakthrough experience with DMT, but I definitely broke through multiple times with ayahuasca, and I presume it's similar. And yeah, so it made me feel like, for the first time, I was getting a true understanding of what a term like infinity or eternity, what these things could actually feel and look like. And I would say, yeah, there's this profound sense that, of familiarity, that you've been there before for sure.
My DMT experience, I had a completely altering DMT experience, and my feeling of it afterward is that the way it did the work was very matter of fact with me. It wasn't gentle, and it wasn't rough. It was
direct,
very direct, and did exactly what it said it was going to do, and that was it. Like, cut and dry. But I would imagine, from what I've heard, that ayahuasca is more gentle, motherly.
It certainly can be gentle, but I would say it's definitely not gentle. In fact, I would say it's for a lot of people, extremely brutal.
Oh, wow. I guess mom can be brutal too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people call her grandma. So, you know,
grandmas too. Yeah. I qualify.
But I think, you know, I never got a super distinct, feminine deity vibe, but it could have been there. It was so crazy. And so, I mean, I definitely encountered various feminine energies / entities who mostly I would say were angelic, but I never encountered like a mother in mine. I'm sure it was just I was floating around elsewhere and she had other business, because a lot of other people who were there did, and had some pretty amazing stories, but I had my own really totally crazy stuff go down.
Why did you go? What was your reasoning for yourself?
So it's funny because like I had known about ayahuasca for almost 20 years. You know, I wrote a paper in college about DMT and alien abduction and sleep paralysis and connecting all these dots, you know. But yeah, so that's when I learned about ayahuasca way back then, and I always sort of thought not for me. And then like
that's fair.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it just started really calling to me. It was like this very strange attraction. I started just watching all the documentaries and getting sort of obsessive about the history of it and learning about it. And then I just decided at the end of last year that this was going to be my year, that I was going to do it. And I was seeking out domestic ceremonies, looking around, you know, the West Coast, various places. And the same day I actually started getting serious and sending out text messages about it. My friend Michael, who hosts Third Eye Drops, you know, texted me and, have you ever drank ayahuasca?
No.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh God,
here we go.
I was like, no, why?
By the way, if you guys out there haven't listened to Third Eye Drops, you should check it out. It's a fucking great podcast.
Yeah, especially if they want the full download of this experience, because we did a 4-parter. So
cool.
We did
yes, direct them
it's
to
fun.
that. Awesome.
I'm gonna go check that out.
Yeah, me too.
It's pretty fun. But it was just incredible. So I got this opportunity to go, and we were gonna, you know, just document the whole thing, and so that's why
documented it?
We both did, just you know, by podcasting there, podcasting before we left, podcasting when we got home,
kind of like what we do with the festivals.
Yep. And we took some video and stuff, and but essentially, yeah, it was this weird attraction pull that I had towards it, and I wouldn't say I was going to heal any specific traumas or anything like that. I was more seeking and just wanting to know more about the mystery, you know?
Yeah.
But I got a whole bunch of healing that I didn't ask for, you know?
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of heeling that I didn't know I needed.
That's the best kind, when you don't know you need it.
Yeah.
You know, you're not looking for it, and it just, you get this gift, and it's like, wow, thanks, man.
And I'll be honest, like, sometimes I think, I don't know if it was the ayahuasca that I was meant for, or if it was that I needed to do the ayahuasca to get to that therapy, because I think that therapy probably changed my life just as much.
Really?
Yeah, truly. It's still something I do parts work all the time now, both with my therapist and also on my own. And it's opened up this whole different way of how I relate to my own psyche and how I relate to my feelings, and how I can just see now when I'm not, quote unquote, in self energy, you know, when I'm totally afflicted by my parts, which are essentially my ego. And I can see all of that a lot clearer now. And it's totally a product of the therapy and the combination of the medicine, you know?
You feel like that maybe this is a dumb question, but do you feel like that perspective has freed up something for you creatively?
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like a fucking gas leak right now. That's my main challenge right now, to be honest, is actually, I won't even say attaining balance, finding balance within all of the creative energy I now find myself with. Yeah, there's this total overflow of creative energy, and yet there's also this very deep awareness of how I in the past have used work as an escape, and how I need to. This is all circular though, because it's showing me that I need to, like, my work needs to be not work. And what
do you mean by that?
I mean that I need to see, this is again, like kind of what we were talking about earlier. I don't think it was on the pod, but just, talking about how to make life art and how essentially, me sitting here balancing
with Darwin's
face
head. On your foot.
This is art. This is a moment, and
it really is actually.
And
super is art.
Darwin loves Colin.
Yeah, I love Darwin. Yeah, I think like it's all that stuff. It's basically getting to know that that work needs to be spiritual. Like it needs to be. I want to be I want to feel connected to the thing that I felt connected to in the medicine as much as possible all the time, right? So not just this thing that like, oh, that was a nice dream, like I want to. There's no reason why I shouldn't be taking that into my life and trying to really. Yeah, just live that.
I know what you're talking about.
Be the medicine.
Mel and I had conversations about that, like being on psychedelics and dancing. I find this space where I feel the most me, and there's no like, I'm not judging myself. There's no worry about tomorrow or the next day or before, and the music and I are one thing, and it's just happening, and I feel so comfortable in that space. And the last few times that that's happened, afterward, I'm like, why can't I feel like that all the time? Like if I could feel that then, I can feel that now. And so, yeah,
absolutely,
I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. Another thing my therapist says a lot is when she has this this concept called savoring the state, and she talks about how, especially for people who are like trauma survivors, but really anyone, this is a great thing to do, is like, when you've hit like a top of a mountain, right? You're like, you have some, even if it's just a small accomplishment, whatever it is, you find yourself at a bit of a peak. You need to like take a second and savor that. And really like basically hit the save button and really take in every aspect of that feeling and that moment, and really
moments.
Bank that shit, and then try to like bring it up at any point in your life.
Refeel the feeling.
Yes, really try to recall it as much as you can and stay connected to it. Like I said earlier about like the chord, the golden chord, you kind of like lay that chord down in that moment, and then just always kind of carry it with you.
Plug it in.
You're like, all right.
It's the helium balloon
following you all
carry around
throughout.
with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
I just had one of those moments last
I really
Saturday.
like your psychologist.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll show you some links and stuff.
Yeah.
Like really, I don't know. It's just really great to work with someone who understands that anyone who understands transpersonal psychology, really, I think it would be a great help to anyone going through these kind of experiences where they're just ineffable and hard to explain.
Yeah, it's good to have somebody that you don't have to explain it to.
Yeah.
That can help you through the hard stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, that right there is like invaluable, because if I would have had that at 18, Jesus, man.
God, can we pause?
Yeah, let's do it. We're back. Ta-da. You guys didn't even know we left, because there was like a millisecond of a break, and we're all appled up and ready to go. So
that was a good break.
It was a good break. Darwin, you gotta stop, man.
No, he doesn't.
It's the best sound.
It is. That's for you, Justin.
He said, "Fuck you." I drink what I want.
So after all of this, you come home Portland and back to your life, and everything's doing its thing. Like,
how did you integrate back into the marriage?
Yeah.
Well,
that was right where I was going. Thank you, Mel.
Sarah was awesome, just very supportive leading up to it. And I think, again, this is another one of the areas where I think preparation helps a lot. Just because, I mean, basically we're just prepared to not know what was going to be necessary, but to deal with it at the time.
Whatever was necessary.
I think I presumed that I would be all fragile and like need coddling, but it was sort of, it totally was the opposite of that. The experience really, it was interesting. I was flying home and I found out that one of our dogs was like having health problems. Like he had a blockage, and the last thing I heard before I got on the first flight was like he probably has to have a $6,000 surgery, and it was like really scary and all this stuff, and so that was really like, wow, okay, well, I guess life doesn't stop just because you go to the jungle to drink ayahuasca, so that was
reality.
Yeah. So as soon as I came back, both of our dogs actually were having shit happen. And I was back at the ER vet like within, 8 hours of being home. So that was crazy. And then Sarah went through like a wave of pretty intense depression and panic. She has like panic disorder. And so she was going through that as soon as I got home. And, I think...
Were they related?
No. I think, I would say that the animal stuff and her thing. Yeah. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Any of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely...
Because, sometimes things truly are like, oh, shit, like,
yeah,
so my uncle passed away, and then, like, well, fuck, I got fired.
Trigger,
But, there's, like, little things, but sometimes, that's where I was going with it. Is it?
Yeah, no, I think anytime our animals have any serious issue going on, it can be a trigger for either of us. But definitely for her panic disorder, definitely it'll kick that in sometimes. But yeah, she was just going through that stuff, and she was even being like, I'm so sorry about this timing. Like you're just getting back from this huge experience, and you need to like have your space. And it was kind of interesting how I felt like the medicine had truly given me just a deeper reservoir to sort of handle the stress of it. And I just felt super grateful. Like, wow, like I definitely feel like I would be in a way more kind of erratic headspace previous to being with that medicine. So I think it just helped me. It obviously shifted me to again, just being in this place of self and really wanting to just do the dance, like live life. That's what this shit is. Like the fact that we have so many years that go by without any super intense, tragic, like anxiety inducing, life or death moments is insane. So it's like, it makes you super, super grateful for those spots where you're like, oh man, right. Like baseline, like normal, cushy life. But I did feel like, by no means does drinking ayahuasca just like make you, perfect or like it doesn't make life it doesn't make you don't all of a sudden become a bodhisattva, but like it just kind of blows the dust off in certain areas that are hard to reach, and still definitely have my shit like my friend said, I'm still totally me, with all my shit and
that's the beautiful stuff
and
though,
all
man.
my shine. I got both.
Shine.
But yeah, that's the thing, I guess for some people I can see how it would be this monumental identity shifting thing. For me it wasn't that. It was this redirection of like, oh, right. Like recalibrating.
You've been on a psychedelic journey for a long time, though.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, that's part and parcel. I can't even imagine having gone through my DMT experience if I had never done psychedelics and had no frame of reference to put that thing in, that I didn't even have a frame of reference for now. Yeah. But I had experience with psychedelics. So I knew kind of how to handle what happened. For someone that hadn't, I can understand how it would be fundamentally stripping. Yeah. You come back like
definitely
different human being completely.
Yeah. And it is. If you're back to the potato metaphor, if you're spending many years just slowly peeling that potato, it's a lot better than if all of a sudden in one night it all gets peeled off. Yeah. It's so I would say, Sarah and I just have a really deep relationship, and yeah, she's the best. So like I'm just really lucky in that way. For me, it's funny. Michael was just saying like, we were just kind of going through all the fears and in our, lead up episode when we were talking about everything, like, he's like, some people just go there, they drink, they come home, they're getting a divorce, and he's like, does that scare you at all? And I was just like, no.
There's probably stuff leading up to
there
that
was stuff
for those
in the
other
closet,
people. Yeah.
Well, I think, and it's a reminder for me that, both Sarah and I we're like, we're both divorcees. So we met at a time where we had both gone through that experience of getting divorced and what that's all about. And I think when I realized I have zero fear of drinking the medicine and coming home and divorcing her, not only did it reaffirm in my mind just how solid our connection is and how much I just love her, but it also made me feel proud because I know that if it wasn't true and if I was shown something that made me feel like, okay, we need to get divorced, that's better than living in the illusion.
Totally.
Wow,
that's called commitment.
That's a mature thought right there.
But it's a fucking gift to have that thought and earnestly feel it.
And then to come home and everything's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think, that's the one thing I'm always super grateful to have a partner who just is invested in discovery and wanting to, better themselves. And we're both totally flawed, fucked up people, but we're on this journey together to try to know ourselves better, to try to just be the best us's we can be, and to kind of tell a story together.
Yeah.
You
well,
know?
that brings up something I wanted to ask you about. So, like I told you in the kitchen, the art is the thing that drew me to reach out to you in the first place.
Yeah.
And I know for me, when I create art, it would be equated to somebody playing music. I'm getting a feeling out.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say anything
Sure.
with what I do. It's just my feeling vomiting onto a paper.
Mm-hmm.
But is it like that for you? Are you trying to say something with the art that you're putting out there? Because that stuff is really beautiful and surreal and awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for the book,
Thank
by
you for
the
the
way.
book.
Oh yeah, totally.
That's so beautiful. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Oh, it's always my honor to have anyone even see it as me not handing them garbage.
Oh, shit.
You know what I mean?
Like a newspaper, get out of here.
Well, yeah. I mean, it just is this constant reminder to me, like, man, like I'm so fucking lucky that I get to just like pull things out of my brain and put it on something, and then someone actually like sees it as having value at all is mind blowing to me a lot. I just love the creative act. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I think it's been a long journey of trying to figure that whole dynamic out. Definitely coming from a place of like punk rock, and I think having a lot of frustration and anger and alienation as a kid. I think that had this sort of effect on me, in that I felt like art was for communication, or at least it was super ripe for communication, and that I wanted to use it to communicate. And I wanted to, there was something really powerful and visceral about the idea of music and or art, because I just see it all as art now, but as being able to transform and to make change. So I think for a long time I struggled with this idea of I had to always have something to say, and I think that paralyzed me a lot early on, or at least stifled me and put me in a box. But I would say I had a few pretty distinct moments now where I relearned the lesson that I don't know anything, and that includes my own motivations and intentions. I went through years of making paintings where I could swear to God that I was just simply making art from an aesthetic place. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just think this looks cool. I just like these images together, all this stuff. And then some years go by. I have my first solo show. It's happening at a really crazy time in my life, when my first marriage was falling apart. And again, I would swear to you that it was just coming from this putting symbols together and making them look cool kind of place. And then a few more years go by, and I'm getting divorced, and my friend is talking to me, and he's telling me about all the art I make, and he's like, the show that was like all about like how the marriage was falling apart. And I was like,
what?
I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, that your solo show, that first solo show, like it was just so obviously that was the theme. And I was like, what are you talking about?
You have to inform me about this.
Yeah. So then he just was pointing out, he started naming off the pieces, and all of a sudden it like hit me like a ton of bricks. Like I realized he was totally right. And
do you remember making those specific pieces of art?
I do, but I don't remember ever feeling. Yeah, I wasn't feeling like, oh yeah, this is about this, and like I made this one piece, for instance. It was like a installation, sort of a sculpture kind of like found object piece where I found like an old bird cage, and I had all this I had this like paper mache that I made into like this bird, right? But I made it into this crazy shape that was like protruding from the center of the cage, like all the way out. And then I used all of this like fishing lines, and then I had all these fake black bird feathers. So I made this like exploding bird cage, and essentially the idea was that this bird wanted to be free so bad that it was just gonna fucking explode to be out of that cage.
It's a little heavy-handed.
Yeah,
in
you think,
retrospect.
right? Exactly. I'm like, how could I possibly not connect this? And then I realized that the show was called To Battle, To Bed, and that the centerpiece of the show was this huge Victorian bed, and I had suspended hundreds of arrows all going towards the bed, floating in the air. And then there was another painting in it where it was a girl and a boy on a seesaw, both with weapons.
We can't escape ourselves.
Yeah,
you can't escape yourself. You're speaking to yourself in 1,000 different ways all the time. Whether
That's
you
the
hear
expression part.
But it was so chilling.
Amazing.
That is chilling.
And it made me realize that no matter what I do, I have something to say.
Whoa. Wow.
You know what I mean? There's no way to escape it, and there's no reason to try to force it.
And even if you're saying it and don't hear what you're saying, other people are hearing the message that you're getting out.
Yep. It's totally fulfilling its own purpose without. I'm like basically just the conduit. I'm not doing shit.
I just show up and do the thing, and whatever it needs to do, it'll do it, and they're gonna get it.
Do you feel like you get into a state when you're in the
flow?
literal, part of creation?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely noticed this first when, when I first got my first 4-track and I was recording stuff at home and making things all the time, and it'd be like 9 a.m. and then all of a sudden it's fucking dark out, and I'm like, holy shit! Like that went by really quick.
That happens with this.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, all the time. I mean, so I think with the band, with Circa, that was the first experience where every single time I went on stage, it was like that, where I didn't even think. It was just like I was in it every second of it, and then all of a sudden it's over. And I like joked around with one of my friends when I was on his podcast about how you can't, like, if you were just in a constant flow state, that like your life would be over so fast.
Fuck, I missed the whole thing.
Like we're all about getting in that flow state until we realize, like, oh my God, I just aged 4 years and I wasn't even there. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, so I get to experience that shit all the time, especially with touring. And then I think subconsciously that maybe that was the draw to get back into visual art for me, was to then provide a way to do that at home as well. So it'd be tour, get home, have some kind of show that I'm preparing for where I'm just making shit all day long for months, and then you have this show, and then totally different, but also similar in some ways to the music thing, kind of making a record, working on it for a long period of time, then it gets released. There's similar things there, but yeah, I definitely think that there's a subconscious kind of override that's happening when I'm really in it. But again, it's like this thing that it doesn't even matter if I try to become self-aware of it. It doesn't change it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still now can look back just months ago and realize these distinct moments where I was picking out concepts of drawings or paintings that then went on, that now I can barely imagine them not existing in my catalog, Yeah. But at the moment they just seemed like totally random, like oh yeah, okay, this, like, and then
Yeah.
it has this weird self-feeding, strange retrocausal kind of, birthing process where you feel like, oh, it's existed forever. It's already been here.
That's the letting go of the, I'm going to use a thelemic term, the lust of result. Right?
Wow.
Letting go of the lust of result. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm
process.
doing the thing and the process is happening, and then you've made room. And I don't even know if you've made room, because that thing is there whether you're making room or not. I think it's our awareness of it is the trick.
We're getting into the stuff this is where I feel like at certain parties I'd be the bomber.
Yeah, there's most of the people are just looking like, can we change the subject?
Yeah. Well, because
I want to hear
this
it.
is exactly the place for this conversation.
This is where I basically am like, well, there's this concept of free will, and how essentially they've already done studies now where they show that our brains, there is a subconscious decision being made before we consciously make a decision. So something happens before we quote unquote decide we're going to do something. That decision's already been made. So there's a part of that's a little fucked up the more you get into it.
But the way I
that
see
means
that,
there's no free will, and you're not doing what you thought you were going to do because you wanted to do it. You're doing it because of the subconscious forcing you to make the decision.
well,
Is it a
you
force?
are your subconscious.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like you are you, whether you're deciding to be you or not. So it might not be your conscious being deciding who you are or your agency, but it is you.
Okay.
I believe that personally, because the
The
first time I heard that, I
dualistic
had like a panic attack. I was like, no, this isn't how things are. And I was like, oh fuck, maybe we are, but I don't know. It's just the way.
I just feel like every time we try to qualify it, it just makes it more apparent that we're looking through a telescope and saying that.
Yeah.
Every time you try to say it's a certain thing, it's just your viewpoint at that moment.
Perspective.
The minute you open your other eye, you're like, oh shit, I'm squatting down looking through a lens. There's a whole world out here. I'm not even looking down. I'm not even looking behind me. Like these things, the more we learn, that's the whole, if you know something, you know nothing at all. And when you do learn a little something, you realize that you knew even less than you thought. And it's not that you don't want to give yourself props for what you've accomplished, but it's just like, okay, that's, exhibit F, and you still got the rest of the alphabet to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny, like Kevin Kelly, the creator of Wired magazine, and just like a total futurist and really brilliant scientific mind, he made this crazy argument. This guy, Michael Garfield, who I love his podcast, he talks about it all the time. He brings up the expansion of ignorance is basically the simultaneous expansion of knowledge, because for everything you learn, there's a few other questions that get born. Shit. So you can never you're never like acquiring more knowledge and then the questions are stopping. You're birthing more questions.
Chasing the dragon.
So
that's the universe expanding.
It's an expansion of ignorance. And that's basically where we find ourselves, where science is. We're kind of in this place now where we constantly, for every rock that we find something under, it's like, oh fuck, there's like 20 rabbit holes underneath this rock, and there's not even enough room here to necessitate all these holes. Like, how the hell are they all here?
Yeah.
Like, that's where we're getting that, we're in that kind of weirdness now. So
it is weird. Knowing stuff is weird now. The mystery is taken out of why is the sky blue, and how long can you hold your breath before you die?
It's
and
just that the mysteries are different. Yeah, we've got answers to those, but like I was reading an article the other day. Apparently there's a mirror universe that you can get to by shooting atoms down a hole. Like, it makes like the things that scientists are doing today are fucking baffling. Like the mysteries will always be there.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think the mystery is just getting weirder. Like that's where we're at.
And if you think about microcosm and macrocosm, I'm just getting weirder too.
Yeah.
Well,
we're getting weirder along with it. Like,
we are.
And it gets back to perspective. I wonder too. I talked to my dad today. My dad's 85 years old.
Wow.
And he said, the world is just completely different. I don't like the way the world is today. It's so mean, and people aren't nice to each other, and doctors don't take care of you, and it was just so much better before because everybody was more kind. And I wonder if that's just his perspective.
Yeah, were they
or
actually
if it
more
really
kind?
is like that. Like, because I see a lot of kindness around me. And am I going to feel like that in 20, 30 years? Like, oh, it was so much better back then. Because, you know what I mean? It really comes down to perspective at the end of it.
Yeah. I think that there's totally a potential that, you know, that maybe that's quantifiable. I mean, I don't know. I think that for anyone who's aging in this current environment, the way that change is so exponentially, it's so fast right now that I think it'd be hard to not perceive it as anything but cruel. You know, as you start to age, I mean, you can really, really try to just be open and embrace all the technology and all the shifts in consciousness that are happening with how we consume media, how we're living our lives. And, but I think it is like, even if you don't even interact with anyone, there's a sense that's gonna get sent to your brain, of cruelness and, at a minimum, indifference, because this world feels indifferent to us, when we don't understand it. You know what I mean?
True.
So are people less kind? Maybe. I think maybe there's something to be said about kinder times, you know,
right.
Where we just had social norms that were way more attuned to being polite and kind of, you know, extending a hand. And I think obviously there's something to the dynamic of our politics and, you know, the polarity that we're seeing, sort of creates this essence of meanness, you know? So it's hard. There's so many things that sort of point to it being very true, but then there's also a million reasons why it could just be a perspective thing.
And I think without that cruelty that you're talking about, it's back to duality, because as cruel as it gets, there is also as kind. You know, there's a balance in that thing, and it's just like the way that we could see the world as being so intolerant and harsh. There's so much more understanding now too, and tolerance on the flip
and
side.
Connection.
So it's growing in both directions at the same time, and they have to balance each other out. And that's what I think you said it earlier. You were like, you know, I think things are going to get worse before. Part of me thinks about that, like, you know, things are going to get worse before they're going to get better, and
they have without us even realizing it already.
Or are they getting worse and
and
better?
Yes.
But does one tip the
see,
scale?
That's why that duality. We can't escape it. There's no escaping it.
Yeah, well, even using the words like worse, better, you know, well, you're in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, what does that mean?
Yes, it just, that's one thing. That's one of my takeaways from psychedelic use and the after effects of it is the lack of trust in language. It just doesn't convey things the way that I need it to, or the way that I feel them. That's better to say. Like, I want to express something, but the words do not cut it. And so just by saying that, is that something that you put into your art, that kind of unspoken language that you may not necessarily be able to get out verbally?
I think a lot of it, if I am, consciously trying to put anything across, that I think it's often expressed in symbols and through, like symbolic storytelling, I guess, if you will. And I'd say, a lot more so now I'm trying to convey things that maybe don't have symbols. So that's where I find myself in this place of both discovery and expression. Or like, actually, it would be better to say a place of discovery and seeking simultaneously. So it's weird. I try to just let it be like the Ouroboros, like the snake eating its own tail. Let it form itself, let it destroy itself, let it give birth to itself again, like just
all of it.
Just let the cycle
be
happen. Yeah.
Well, and it's also, I think part of that is like trying to explain what a song means, or if Colin creates a piece of art, for him to say that it means this. Well, maybe that doesn't say that to me. Maybe it says something completely different. And when we try and quantify those things that like art, you're destroying the magic in it, because you're not allowing it to express itself individually to us.
Well, people like explanations.
Everybody always asks what songs mean.
That's funny. I mean, we find ourselves in this position a lot, and that's actually something that I've been over the years so inspired by our singer and my dear friend Anthony. He always came from this position of not wanting to explain the songs, and for a long time, I think he and I, or at least for a few years, he and I felt differently about this type of thing. And I was like, I thought it was a gift to sort of kind of tell inspiration stories and say where certain things came from. And to an extent, personally, I still feel like there's a degree of that I engage in a lot, which I think is, it can be really healing for me as an artist, and I think for other people as just taking something in that I made. But he comes from, I think it's this place of respect, and it's this place of not ever dumbing anything down because you think your audience is dumb. You basically give them the credit that they're fucking smart and that they'll figure it out. And that ultimately, if they find a completely different meaning than you have injected into it, then even better. I gotta agree with him. So I over time I completely have adopted that and feel like, it's great to.
It's two beautiful mindsets, both of them.
Yeah.
Well, and it's that
because
thing.
that's why we have scientists. Those are the guys that want to know shit. Those are the ones asking the questions, like, where were you raised? How was your mom? When you they want to know those things. And then there's the other ones that are like, oh my God, that's so cool. I don't know what it is. I just love it. No explanation needed. It's just the pure joy of being a part of it or seeing it or experiencing it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be interesting going into the next writing, recording phase.
Are you guys up to something?
Yeah. We've been passing around stuff for a bit, but it's like, I had a couple of pretty music centric experiences like in my ceremonies, and one was that I was listening to the Icaros and feeling like I was getting telepathic messages from the maestro, and that I could understand every word he was saying, but I wasn't getting it like a translation in English. I was getting it like synesthesia and just getting it. And so it really just like conveyed this sense of to just put everything in on your side of making things and just not worry about what the other side is doing. And I thought it was funny earlier. You were like, yeah, you know, when you're at a show, everything's like pointed towards you and you know, and you're pointed out. And I just thought that's exactly how I feel when I'm in the audience too. You know, I feel like it's pointing at me.
Yeah.
And that I'm sending this thing towards it. And I really do feel like that is one of the reasons why we've gotten so lucky with like our fans, like the people that have stuck with us for so long, and how we've sustained a career for, you know, 16 years. And we're not on the radio, we're not on MTV, like no one really knows who we are in that way. But I think it's because this stuff has connected in that way to these people, and that there is like this very deep sense of respect and and really like they're just as much a part of that show as I am, and really like that's coming from all my formative experiences, actually our whole band, you know, like our formative experiences with like punk and music that was just made in garages and played in living rooms and basements, and being on the same level as the band where there's no stage, you know. We play on stages now, but in my head there's still no stage, you know.
That's fucking rad.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's where that connection, somewhere everyone in that room knows that there's no stage, you know.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Or if there is one, we're all fucking on it.
We're all yeah.
We're all stage level.
That's the thing that blew my mind. I mean, that's what kept me going back, was I'm in a room with 30,000 people that get it.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter what I'm wearing and where we were last night. We're here right now, and this thing is happening to us and with us and for us and about us, and all of it at the same time. And the band is having the same thing happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having that experience in my room alone.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked into this thing and was like, oh my gosh, you know, and it changed the rest of my life, you know. And that thing, whatever that moment is, has driven me to right now. You know, it made me want to know everything about it and to express it in every way I could in my life. And, you know, I got derailed for 10 years in there, but I found my way back. And that was the thought in starting No Simple Road. If there was a thought, was I do have a story to tell, you know, and it is not uncommon. And I think a lot of us feel, like I said earlier, like we're on this trip alone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you connect with that band or that artist or that thing, that's what makes it so special, is because all of a sudden now I'm not alone anymore, and there's somebody else that gets my tweak. and that's beautiful. I mean, the music business is no joke.
I think it's a joke.
It's fucking hard, man. You guys work hard for little money for a long time.
The more that I learned from behind the scenes, that it is a joke.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I mean, it is really difficult. I'm so lucky to have been around the people that I've been around, and again, I think like I think we owe a lot of debt to just the people who inspired us when we were young. We happened to look up to people that just did not give a fuck about being famous or being treated differently or anything like that. It was just about connecting to something bigger and something more universal, and just freaking the fuck out a little bit. And I think that's all we're doing. We just feel like our mission is just simply to infect other people. Like we want them to feel the same aliveness that we felt when we first decided, I think we could start a band. You know, we want everyone to feel that way about whatever it is that they're meant to feel that way about. That feeling of, I think I can do this. You know, I think
on that note, actually, I listened to you guys in middle school and high school, and in high school. My friend got me into you guys. She showed me the first song I listened to was The Only Difference Between Medicine. And we always talked about that song. We were like, this would be a good song to take drugs to. Like that was like the first thing. And the first night I ever took psychedelics with these guys on Sydney's birthday. It's true. I think it was Sydney's birthday. We went and saw Rat Dog.
Oh yeah.
And like that night we're all hanging out in the hotel room and listening to these like chill, like soft tones, and dude, everything's all relaxing. And I'm like, I just stood up and was like, I have to go on an adventure. It was like, I'm gonna go on an adventure. I had to get out of the room and go for a walk. I put on my headphones and I walked downstairs and I listened to a few different songs, and one of them was that one. And it's just that listening to that one and a couple other songs like put me on a different path. Like it rearranged.
He came up from that little walk, and we were all chilled out, we were laid out. Yeah, just all happy and just elated and high and sleepy and whatever.
And I kick in the door.
Burst in the door, and he's like, I know what I want to do with my life. And we're just like all quiet, like, what? I found my special purpose.
It was exactly.
And he was like, I want to be a counselor, a school counselor.
Help kids.
And I want to help kids. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And
damn.
Yeah.
And your music.
So it worked.
Yes.
It somehow it wormed its way in there.
Yep.
And what's trippy is I didn't know that.
I love that.
And you're here.
Yeah.
Like when I told him, he was like, really?
So, yeah. Why? Because it's not like the rest of the bands we interview. We interview a lot of jam bands.
Yeah, totally.
So I was
that's because we're a jam band at heart.
You guys are.
Yeah.
A psychedelic rock band for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, I think what's happening to the show is that just like your art is transforming. And it started out as Aaron, and it ended up being 4 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it started.
Don't forget Darwin.
5.
Darwin.
Sorry, always forget Darwin. And then it started out as a Grateful Dead podcast, and it's become what we're doing right now is having a conversation on our porch about. We barely talked about music or your art. I mean, it's accepting what is and riding the wave.
Yeah.
And it's the most beautiful thing, because that's when that spontaneous, creative lightning bolt hits, and you never know what you're going to get. It's the best feeling.
Yeah.
Amen to that. Colin,
I agree.
Where can people see your art and all that?
They can see it so many places.
Do you have something coming up with your art?
No, I think right now I'm just in this state where I'm in podcast land. So I'm launching my own podcast on 11/11.
Right on.
That's my grandson's birthday.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm dropping 6 episodes. I'm doing it kind of like Netflix style.
Hell yeah.
What's the name
What's
of
it
the
called?
show?
It's called The Cosmic Nod.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And so I'm going to be dropping what I'm just calling them sequences. And so I'm going to drop like multiple episodes at a time, kind of whenever I want. Because I can't do a regular schedule at all. I'm going to be all over the place. But just here and there, just drop 6 to 10 episodes on people.
As a podcast listener, that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
I would love that if I just randomly had one of my subscriptions be like, 7 new episodes.
Exactly.
Sweet.
That would be cool.
I'm a total podcast addict, so that's where I'm coming from with doing that. And yeah, so I just been having conversations a lot, editing a lot. You know the deal, how you do all that stuff.
I do.
But other than that, I've just been doing sort of group shows, a lot of, a couple pieces here, a couple pieces there, a lot of experimenting, sketching, journaling, getting ready for something. It's probably going to be a while, but I definitely feel like it's time. I have all these ideas that'll probably culminate in some kind of show. And then in between that, I'm doing a lot of music stuff.
Will you guys be touring anytime soon?
Yeah, we're touring in March.
Are you guys coming to the West Coast?
We're going to be in Portland. We'll be at Crystal Ballroom.
Whoa, yes!
We'll be there.
When are you guys going to be in Crystal Ballroom?
It's going to be, I can't remember if it's in the first leg or the second leg, but it's either April. No, yeah. I think it's April. I want to say April.
That's a great
I don't know.
time.
I'll send you the date.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm stoked. We're celebrating 10 years of our third record. So we'll be playing that from front to back, and
which
Blue Sky Noise.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll be playing that from front to back, and I think probably playing the EP that we put out around that time, Appendage, as well. And yeah, just kind of like celebrating.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's gonna be great. And then after that, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're, like I said, we have new music in the pipeline, and just we're in this really cool space where we just can release it however we want, and we're just kind of deciding how we want to do that.
That's exciting.
It's nice to see.
That's fucking exciting.
Yeah, it's nice to see you calling the shots in your own, all your life.
Yeah,
not just your career.
Oh, thank you.
All of it. It's beautiful to watch unfold, to learn about it, and I'm excited for you and Sarah and the guys, and thank you so much for bringing some joy, some medicine.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is just part one.
Part two is coming soon.
Every time we talk, let's just this is part two.
We'll create a sequence.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Reoccurring.
Everybody out there, remember, be nice to each other and don't be a dick.
Smile.
And smile at a stranger, because strangers need smiles too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
And
yourself.
Safety third, and hydrate. All right. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week for more stuff.
Love you.
Good.
Bye.
I can't get started from the part where I left off. Yesterday, I should have spent my time a little wiser. I sat alone, guilty as sin, waiting for words to come from out of my head, still making sense to anyone. Understand the reason I've yet to translate any meaning besides it's not worth it to try. Get out, get out. Locked myself up in a room without a window just to see if it was any easier to breathe. But I was wrong, never underestimate the daylight. There is so much easier to be, yeah. I can't wait to understand the reason I have yet to translate any meaning besides it's not worth it to try. Get out, get out, get out. Get out, oh.
X wrote before, so we may think. But it's a tad bit of strange similarities that feed an A equal A complex. The fears of your past do not equal the perplexities of the current road.
Osiris.
Hey listeners, I want to tell you about the April-May 2023 issue of Relics magazine. Features a Dave Matthews Band cover story with additional articles and interviews with The National, Graham Nash, Wayne Shorter, ALO, Ivan Neville, our friend Eric Krasno and Stanton Moore, Marty Stewart, and much more. Check out the latest version of Relics and subscribe now at relics.com/DMB. Thanks, Relics.
Ever wonder what a punch from Elton John feels like?
Or how you'd cope with having turned down the chance to be in Nirvana?
Or what signal Keith Richards gives when he wants you to get the hell out of his hotel room?
Fans of Too Much Effing Perspective don't have to wonder, because they've heard these exact stories and a jillion others on our podcast. I'm Alex Hoffman, former tour manager for Radiohead.
And I'm musician and comedy writer Alan Keller. On the TMEP show, we get guests like Nancy Wilson from Heart, Jeremiah Freites from the Lumineers, and Modern Family's Julie Bowen to tell us things they may have only shared with their therapist, clergy, or a TMZ stringer.
So join us on Too Much Effing Perspective. That's EFFING Perspective. The only podcast you crank up to 11.